right, we're live.
We are live right now with Charbel. G'day.
G'day.
First, I don't know, is this the first time I've had an Aussie on my show? I don't know why you'd know.
I haven't watched every single show, but I don't know. Possibly, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've got to catch up.
Yeah, I don't know, actually, if there's ever been an Australian on the show. You don't remember Neil, do you? I mean, I've been on the show.
I feel like, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Like there was a priest that was from Australia.
It's great. Whenever I'm around...
Yeah, Bishop Strickland.
Oh, that's true. His mother, was it?
Half Aussie,
I think his mother was an Aussie.
From the same suburb as where I grew up.
Was he?
Yeah. And
What do you mean, was he?
Was he?
Do you know what that is? 12th man? Doesn't matter. Yeah, whenever I'm around Australians, I realise how non-Australian I sound.
Yeah.
Do you notice
true.
that about me when I speak? You're like, that's not a...
It's a bit what happened, like Matthew Kelly's accent. It's this warped accent.
Yeah.
It's a merger, this American.
Is that what I have?
No, you're still more Aussie than American, but
Okay.
but it's not 100% pure.
Yeah. I got to get back to it.
Yeah.
My theory is that you come over to America, you first enjoy the attention you get from your accent, from the ladies at the checkout counter and things like that. But then you get tired of being misunderstood, and so you start kind of pronouncing your words more clearly. Giving in.
Yeah, that's right.
But so maybe by the end of this episode, I'm going to sound super Australian again.
Yeah, awesome.
And you have brought Australian lollies.
Yeah, absolutely. Some favourites here. Minties.
Minties.
Minties have these famous cartoons on them. Moments like these, you need Minties.
Minties, yes.
Cherry Ripe, of course.
That's
that's one of my favourites. I got Caramello Koalas.
Yep, good.
And
Timtams.
And of course, Timtams and then Violet Crumble. If no one knows about that.
This is the greatest chocolate. Did you have one yet? Wasn't it good? It was unreal. Why is it that American chocolate sucks so badly?
I don't want to offend anyone, so I can't go there.
It's terrible. I'm glad I live in America. I would rather live here, honestly, than in Australia. So there you go. I like your country more, but your chocolate sucks.
Yeah, we have to. And can I throw one more thing out there?
Mm-hmm.
The coffee.
You don't like the coffee here?
It's different. You know, Australia, we become coffee snobs now. So
that's right.
You get an espresso and then you have full milk, right? So if you have a latte or cappuccino, it's as good as Italy now. So,
yeah.
And now
big coffee culture.
every cafe. So we don't have those sort of pots. They sit there all day.
How old are you?
I'm 40.
I'm 39. Just turned 39 a couple of days ago.
There you go. I'll be 41
that's cool.
on the 3rd of August.
So we probably have a similar experience of growing up. I don't know what it was like in Sydney. Is that where you grew up?
Sydney, yep.
So I was born in Sydney, grew up in South Australia.
Oh, okay.
My dad was in the Navy, so they were from South Australia, but Dad was stationed in Sydney, so they were living there.
Wow.
I was born in Eastwood. Anyway.
Eastwood, yeah.
You know what that is?
That's not too far from where I live now.
And but anyway, I grew up, and coffee, the only coffee we had was instant coffee. Was that like that in Sydney?
Yeah, that's right. In the 80s and even early 90s, it was all instant. It wasn't good. I think tea was still strong. I think we had that British influence. But then by the 2000s, it started to come in, and cafe culture.
Yes.
Victoria sort of led the way. Melbourne, they perfected it.
Yep.
Then Sydney followed, and now I think everywhere you go, you can get a freshly brewed espresso. It's just... Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's funny. My mate Todd visited me from Canada, and he just wanted a drip coffee. You know, like we have in America here, like just drip coffee. But all you can get there is like espresso, and they add hot water.
Yeah.
Do they call it Americanos in Australia?
There are Americanos. Yeah,
they call them that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that they were called them Americanos because the Americans kept wanting drip coffee in Italy, and so it was kind of like espresso, add hot water for the Americans. But
we have the flat white as well, which is basically a latte without the froth on the top.
Okay.
It's just the same thing. So a flat white, a latte, and a cappuccino are made the same. They're just finished off differently.
Okay. So you love your coffee?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple a day. Yeah,
couple. That's it.
Yeah, too. I did have like
amateur.
Yeah, I know. I had about 4 a day. It's weird. When I used to teach in PE, PDHPE, phys ed as they call it here, and I never drank coffee. But then when I went into religion and started teaching religion, wearing a suit and a tie, and being in the office, I just started with tea and then instant coffee, and then eventually, the rest is history. I've become a regular coffee drinker.
So what do you drink if you go to a
flat white?
Flat white.
Yeah, I like a flat white.
I just need mine black, so black.
Interesting.
If I get a cup of coffee and I can see the cup through the top of the layer of coffee, the black coffee, I'm sad. Like it needs to be.
Oh, you have to have the Turkish coffee.
That's what I drink. Yeah, Turkish coffee. You helped me with that, didn't you?
Good. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff.
Turkish coffee or that Italian stovetop percolator thing.
Yeah, that's good too. Yeah. That's very good.
Good. Pints with Aquinas, everybody. It's
deep stuff.
This is the
here.
content
This is
you've
it.
come for. So what are you doing in the States?
I've come to join Deacon Harold, actually,
Awesome.
at the Catholic Marketing Network. We're going to launch a new software,
Really?
Christian marketing solution. So, yeah, cmsunlimited.com. It's a platform to help influencers grow their audience. And so it's unlimited email, unlimited social media posts, unlimited landing pages,
Wow.
marketing campaigns. It's dummy proof, so to speak. So there's no bells and whistles. It's just very simple, but it should be simple enough for a priest or a youth worker to just be able to pick it up and run with. So we're launching on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say social media posts, who's doing the social media posts?
Well,
You
anyone. It's dummy proof, so it's got templates in there. You can just basically swap out the images,
Yep.
and it will auto post to whatever page you are a manager of. So if you have multiple Facebook pages, it'll auto post to that, a bit like Hootsuite.
Yeah.
And then Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, text messaging. It's all in the same portal, so it's quite
You've
exciting.
created this software?
Yeah, it was actually white labeled. This Jewish owner done it. It's a great guy, Jared, and about 30,000 businesses used it. And then this Kelly. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kelly. I don't know your last name, but Kelly had this idea to white label it for Catholics or Christians, and then and didn't really launch it at its peak. I think the pandemic started at the time, and then Deacon Harold got involved, and then Deacon has now taken it on, and we've partnered with him.
Nice.
And so it's basically an out of the box marketing tool. So,
Cool.
So get ready. And the great thing is Deacon Harold owns the code, and so you're not going to be cancelled.
Wow.
And it's going to be constantly being developed with investors in spending money to develop it.
Cool.
and
This is the first
customize
time
it.
I'm hearing about it. So
I
what's
know.
what's the URL? What's the
cmsunlimited.com,
Fantastic.
because it's unlimited email addresses, unlimited database, unlimited tagging, unlimited social media posts, emails, all that. So
Might have to look
check
into
it out.
that, Neil.
Oh,
Yeah.
the link's already in the description.
Oh, nice.
Look at that. Oh, that's fantastic. Are you talking in the States? Are you?
Yeah, I was on Catholic Answers
Okay.
Focus yesterday
Yeah.
in San Diego with
Yep.
Sai,
Yeah.
and then just a little segment promoting a pilgrimage coming up with Tim Staples on Catholic Answers Live yesterday. So that was with Karlo Broussard,
Yep.
and I stayed at the Staples place yesterday, which was nice. And then in LA with Ruben Quezada, the author of the book For Greater Glory. It was a companion to the movie For Greater Glory.
Yeah.
He's an expert in that whole Christiada war, and
Yeah.
he was our first international speaker in Australia this year. We had our first international event in 3 years, and he kick-started it, which was great. So
So you run an apostolate called Parousia Media.
that's right.
And
Yes.
real quickly, what's that?
It's basically a Catholic evangelization and faith formation apostolate. So think of your old St. Joseph, Lighthouse Catholic Media, Augustine Institute, Catholic Answers, Ascension Press, all those guys, Ignatius Press, rolled in one with the podcasting and blogging and all that and events. So, yeah, love it.
Yeah, the first time I heard of you was when I was working at Catholic Answers. So you were
Oh,
there on
yes.
Gillespie Way. So I used to work there.
Yes.
And you would hire or you would get speakers from America to come down and
That's right.
yeah. So you still doing that?
Still doing it. I mean, during the lockdowns, that stopped completely. But this year we're back again. So we're planning to get out.
You
more
said you had
speakers.
that fellow in.
Ruben Quezada.
What was that like after lockdowns? Did
So
you ever-
good. We had a fundraiser dinner, and it was at in the Olympic Park. So we're in Sydney, at Homebush Bay, where the 2000 Olympics were. So there was a formal restaurant there, and it was beautiful. Water view. 350 people or so were there, packed out room. And we couldn't get people to sit down and quiet because they just wanted to mingle. They just wanted to chat.
Dude, yeah.
Because it was almost like releasing everyone out of the cage. And and we the night was more about meeting each other than anything else. And then it was a celebration, I think. And we were able to just promote what we did in the pandemic. Because funny enough, as tough as it was, God blessed our ministry in other ways. So I'll explain that at some point. But we're here, and now we can finally open up face to face, and I can't wait to bring on more. So October we're going to have Tim Staples come down under, and Deacon Harold as well. So we're excited about that.
And do you find that having Americans give these presentations is that a hindrance to them in some way, or do you find it magnifies the message even
it does
more?
help. A prophet's not a prophet in his own home, as we've heard, and so
which is why I've never been down.
But it's weird when a guest comes. there's this urgency, like they're only here for a week. Let's get out there and see them.
Yeah.
And the American approach is it's quite dynamic. It's quite engaging. And I think finding the key speakers, it's not just any American. It's those who can communicate the message really effectively. They're a little bit entertaining. They can engage with different age groups. They're faithful. I mean, they've got to be faithful to the magisterium, and they're just cool to be around. So they're just normal, outgoing.
Yeah, well, like
Catholics.
Tim Staples is just a firecracker.
Absolutely.
Because he did my interview for Catholic Answers, and so I met him for the first time, having listened to him on Catholic Answers Live and listening and watching his debates. And I met him and I thought, there's no way this guy's like this all the time. Like, it's too intense, it's too passionate. But he was. I was there for 3 years and he was like that every day. Just
he doesn't let anything slip. I mean, he's razor sharp when it comes. He'll just pick any heresy out and he just deals with it. It's just amazing. He's just got a great heart. He kickstarted our live events with Parousia in Australia in 2009. Yeah. He came out and that really set us up with events, and that's how we got our reputation. Thanks to Tim kickstarting that back then.
What like, I think there's different parts in America call for different types of apologetics, Yes. In some places, kind of like theistic apologetics would be more called for, maybe evangelizing, say, Muslims or whatever, atheists, Protestants. But what's it like in Australia?
Well, so Sydney, the main hubs, it's a melting pot of all cultures, right? So in particular suburbs, so where I grew up, it would have been Muslim apologetics. But then you go, say, I'm now in the Bible Belt where Hillsong is, and so then there's a lot of
they call it the Bible
Belt? The Bible Belt of northwest Sydney, where Hillsong is. They're in Borkham Hills, and the first Hillsong church was there, and now it's a mega church, and I drive past it regularly, and I think that's a great opportunity there. But then, sadly, the census came out 2 weeks ago, and the nuns, the NONES, are now 40% of Australia. 40% of Australians have said they don't belong to any religion, which in fact is probably finally they've told the truth, because I think for a long time we thought that Christians were the majority, and scraped in, I think it's 49% now Christians. That's a combination of all denominations, but how many of them are practicing? 10, less than 10% Catholics practice. That's 3 Sunday masses on a month.
What's the opinion on Cardinal George Pell right now?
Mixed. Those who supported him beforehand still support him more than ever today. So he's a good friend of mine.
I love him.
He's a great man of faith and strong man, very down to earth. A lot of people don't see this side of him. What you see in the media, might be a dry, man. It doesn't seem too, engaging. But my goodness, with young people, he's so social, and he's got a memory. He's very sharp, and he'll remember your name. He'll remember events. He remembered. I didn't see him for so many years, and he just remembered that my wife was pregnant at the time, and he blessed the baby, and he knew the baby's name, because we sort of let him know, some family stories, and he remembered those little details. And still till today, I saw him only a couple of weeks ago, because he was in America.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago. Then
Father
he went to
Jason
Australia.
had dinner with him a couple of weeks ago. Good friend of ours here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. But he came to Sydney for a clergy conference. He was going to come back for the Napa Institute, which I'm going to that after CMN. Nice. But he's not coming back. He's under the weather, as we say. But but those who don't like him or don't understand him, they won't forgive him.
Complete travesty and injustice what happened to him.
Yeah.
It's shame on whoever convicted him of those bogus claims.
Yeah, and if we feel sorry, it's not the claimant or the person who the victim. Cardinal Pell's prayed for that man. He's not actually the one at fault. There was whoever behind it. It was a setup.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was speaking in Melbourne back when I was in Australia. I don't know when that was, 2.5 years ago. Is that right, Liam? I don't know. It was like pre-COVID. Everything. But I got to pray outside of his prison cell. It was an honor, just to be that close to him. And I met him once on an aeroplane. I think it was at World Youth Day 2000.
Rome,
I think.
Right?
Yeah. Did you go there?
No.
Rome was my conversion. That's when I came to Christ.
I just came back to Christ about 9 months before that.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so very close.
Wow. So I met him on an aeroplane. Bishop Hurley wanted me to, here's Cardinal Pell. Oh, g'day, But that was it. I didn't know who he was. I didn't really care that much at the time, But
Tall man. He used to play AFL. Really good football. He made the selection to go to the next level, so top level, but he never went ahead. He joined the seminary instead.
How do you explain Aussie rules football to Americans? Because Aussie rules football is one of the greatest sports ever.
It's non-stop. Well, okay, you're from like South Australia,
So
and
it's
I'm
huge
from
there, yeah.
New South Wales. So rugby league is a big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm a rugby boy.
Yep.
But AFL is fun. I learnt it playing it in college, and so I had to, for my studies, we had to study all the invasion games and all that stuff, and it is fun. It's non-stop. You're constantly running. It's a circle, right? The field is a circle, not a rectangle. And then the ball is, an oval ball that bounces anywhere. And you've got to run. You can't run more than 15 meters before having to bounce it. Now, how do you bounce at full speed? Not a round ball, but an oval ball. So, and then the kicking, they kick like 50 meters. Was that close to 50 yards?
Yeah.
But right through. And that's hard, especially on the fly. Watch a few
Neil, you're going
games.
to find a link to AFL and put it in the description so everyone can be blessed. It's one of the greatest games ever. People find this hard to believe because I grew up in the 80s, 90s like you did, and small town in South Australia, so we had like 3 channels, like ABC, Channel 4, SBS came in later, but like rugby was never on the television. It was so segregated, eh?
Yeah,
like
very
rugby was big in Queensland, New South Wales.
East Coast, we were rugby league. Yeah. Rugby league got all the media attention. Rugby union... certain areas played. Although internationally, rugby union's bigger. Yeah. Rugby league is very popular. In that side.
I was just on my way to Africa a couple of days ago. I just got back and game of cricket was on in where was I? Johannesburg Airport.
Oh, wow.
They had this little smoking room. Me and my mate went in, had a smoke, and watched the cricket. Oh, I love cricket.
Yeah.
I don't like sport usually, but cricket is such a great game. And I just got sucked right back in. I didn't know who the players were. It was Australia versus, I forget, Sri Lanka, was it? It was a test match, but
yeah, wow.
It was fantastic.
Who won?
I don't know. I was there for like 20 minutes. It looked like Sri Lanka was doing well, but here's a funny story. So, as you said, Aussie rules football is played on an oval.
Yes.
And I think in part that was because, it's an adaptation of Gaelic football.
That's right. That's another game we got. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's like Gaelic football, but like brutal, violent. And I think in part it was meant to keep the cricketers fit in the winter months, right? So for me growing up, every large piece of grass that people would play sports on was called an oval. So if you're at lunch, at school, you're like, should we go out sit out on the oval?
That's
but
right.
I guess in New South Wales you wouldn't call it an oval, would you?
We still called it oval. And at school it was called an oval.
So I'm in America and I'm walking with Cameron back to her house and I walk past this schoolyard and I thought some bloke was out there on the oval. And she went, the what? I went, the oval. Oh, right. You don't call it the oval because it's,
What is it called? The field?
Yeah, I guess
the
what do you
playground?
call it? The field. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The different things that we take for granted, like rubbish, a rubbish bin. Yeah. That's what we call it. But no, it's a trash can. Or, it's just these little things, nappies for diapers, those funny differences. So,
or even footpath instead of sidewalk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What is it? Park? They say parking lot. Instead of car park. Or what do we say?
We say car park.
Car park, yeah.
So Americans will say
I say
parking
we.
lot.
I'm basically American at this point.
Yeah, that's right. You got a foot in both camps, don't you?
I do, yeah. It's a weird world to live in.
Are you an American citizen?
I have a green card.
Okay.
But it's coming to its terminus, so I think I'm going to apply for citizenship.
Okay. Yeah. And you can have the dual citizenship?
I don't know, but I don't care at this point. I'd be happy to. I mean, as much as I love Australia and very nostalgic, have beautiful thoughts about it and love to go home, I like my wife and kids more than Australia, so I'm happy to live here now, and we feel called here,
Yeah, well, no, what you're doing is great out here. We watch you down under, and it's fantastic, the impact. And so many Americans tell me, like, this Aussie guy, Matt Fradd.
Yeah.
I said,
I was mistaken for Matthew Kelly once.
I can imagine that.
I was at a church in San Diego, and afterwards someone came up to me and told me what an impact I've made on their life. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, that really means a lot to me. And they're like, yeah. And they said something that gave it away. Because at the time, all I had done was like written one book on pornography or something, And they're like, yeah, be the best version of yourself or something like that. And I'm like, oh, crap. They're talking about Kelly. Yeah. So I just let it slide, walked away, took the compliment.
That's
funny. I've never met him.
I've met him in Sydney, actually, twice. Okay. Yeah, so he would visit his mother, who's also from the same town as Bishop Strickland's mum. So, I met him a couple of times, and I try to reach out for him for this trip, but he is off to Europe, so just missed him. But yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man.
So you said it was several months before Rome 2000 when I came to Christ that you came to Christ.
That's right.
Tell us a bit about that, because you've got a new book just came out. We got a link in the description below. People should check it out. How Islam Led Me Back to Christ. Were you raised a Christian?
I was so Maronite Catholic. So I was a Catholic. We did pray the rosary in the early years. We did go to mass. I did do all the sacraments. So baptism, confirmation, and then Holy Communion. But then after that, sort of drifted a bit.
How old were you when you started drifting?
Literally like 9. After my father left home for a while, and so for a while he wasn't around, about a year and a half, and but he did come back. Interesting. Mum prayed a lot for him, and in that time we did turn to the rosary, we did pray, but then we didn't go to Sunday Mass because he wasn't around. He used to take us to Sunday Mass before that, and that stopped, and then that stopped the habit, and then bit by bit, just drifted. And I remember I was in a Catholic primary school, and most of the students were going to Mass on Sunday, and the priest would come into class and say, "Okay, good to see everyone at Sunday." But I was like the one that didn't go. But then I went to a public school, and I think God did something through that public school that reminded me of my identity, I guess. So I started to go to Mass after my reversion, and that's an amazing experience when I rediscovered it, what I took for granted so long.
So when you drifted away, is that when you started getting introduced to Islam? Or how old
Not
were
right
you?
away. So between ages of 9 and 12, so the second half of primary school, was that elementary school, I didn't practice my faith. Just enjoyed life, played rugby league, I loved my sport, I did all that. I wasn't like a troublemaker or anything like that. I was just a ordinary kid. But then I went to public school, so that's when I was introduced to Islam. So this public school was Belmore Boys High. It was the year I arrived was branded the worst school in New South Wales. It had the lowest HSC results. It had the highest crimes out of any school. It just hit the newspapers for the PE teacher's hair being lit a light on fire.
What?
The principal's office, the orientation day, I rocked up day one, and the principal's office was on fire. So the fire goes out there.
So back up. Someone lit a teacher on fire?
Her hair, she had this fuzzy hair. And
how did they do that?
Just with a lighter. She must have had too much hairspray or something.
Just wet up.
Yeah, poor thing.
Not good. Shouldn't laugh.
We shouldn't laugh. But anyway, I mean, it was funny at the time.
Were you there when it happened?
I heard the story. It was another class that did it.
All right, so that's the only incident of a teacher being set on fire? Just the hair?
Yeah, I mean, other incidents where teachers did get, there was violence, so they did get hit. There were fights. There were other things.
In the office, you said the principal's office was set on fire? Okay.
Yeah, one of the footballers I used to play against, he did it. And every day there was sort of something, in the trash cans, or the rubbish bin, as we call it, there's a fire. And then there's people right away, if you look at someone the wrong way, and then all of a sudden there's a fight out in the playground. And then we have this famous street, Paxton Avenue, after 3 o'clock. I'll see you at Paxton Avenue. It was always on.
Okay.
And I never really paid attention in class. None of it. We had a lot of fun in school. Nothing to celebrate here, but it was fun. Loitering at shopping centres. It was not a teenage life, but it's not something I celebrate, but it's something that I do remember distinctly. But I was around Muslim friends basically, and these guys were in and out of jail. They were. A lot of our Polynesian friends as well were in and out of jail. Drugs, violence, womanizing, all that sort of stuff. So,
So this became your kind of inner circle. These were your close friends.
Inner circle, absolutely.
And were they practicing their Muslim faith?
Not at the time. However, Ramadan every year comes around, a bit like our Lent, if you like, and they would take their faith seriously. And it was like, man, okay, you fast all day, really? Okay, why? All right. And then it was like they weren't religious at all. And between junior high, middle school, nothing was there. It is a fun fact that in our area during Ramadan, the crime rate goes down. So it's interesting because in Ramadan, a Muslim would really take it seriously during that time, not just by fasting from food, but they'll even improve their life. They'll start to pray, commit to the 5 times a day prayer, try not to cause any trouble, and try not to swear, all these sort of things. They try to really improve themselves during the month of Ramadan, which is admirable in a way. That's great that they at least take it seriously during that month.
Okay. And so then how did you start, I don't know, getting introduced to Islam? Was it your friends or?
Well, looking at me, I am Middle Eastern, so they thought I was a Muslim. So they'll
they
greet
never
me
asked
with
any questions.
right away, Assalamu alaikum. It's an Arabic term, peace be upon you. And I'll be like,
cheers.
Yeah, hello. and then, no, alaikum assalam, come on. Okay. And then I did wear a crucifix, and they noticed, what's that around your neck? I said, it's a cross. Oh, is that Jesus? I said, yeah. He's on the cross. Yeah. Did he die? He didn't die on the cross. I said, yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Prove it. Easter. And then they'll be like, have you got evidence? No, I don't. And bit by bit, they started chipping away at those little things I took for granted. So who is Jesus? I said, he's God. So God has died on the cross, according to Christians. Yeah. How can God die? Oh, I don't know. If he died, then that's the end of us. Yeah, that's true. That doesn't make sense, does it? And then they'll chip away again. Things like the Our Father. Jesus would pray the Our Father, and they said, God can't have a son. Oh, really? Well, their interpretation is that God sort of slept with someone in order to have a son. Mm-hmm. So he can't do that. Well, okay, well, all right, we don't say he slept with someone, but he has a son, a divine son. But I couldn't describe it. I was a young teenager. Then also like the resurrection, he never claimed to be God, all these things, and I learned bit by bit all these different accusations and arguments. Even Muhammad being in the Bible, the prophecy of the seal of prophets coming after Jesus, and what we would call the Holy Spirit or the Advocate at Pentecost, they would think that was actually Muhammad, and they'll quote scripture. So how do you know so much about this Bible? They study it. They actually do a bit of homework how to approach Christians, and it's interesting. They did that, and as they were getting more and more religious over the time, I noticed an interesting change in my friends, and then they started getting a little bit more upfront about things, and I was like, I didn't really want to go there. I wasn't religious, but I would listen. And it was the final year of school where they invited a guest, a Sheikh Ahmed. So we say Sheikh Ahmed, so it means like a leader, a teacher. Okay. And so he was the imam, a Muslim imam, and he spoke. This is a public school, not a Muslim school, but we had time of class. We were able to sit down and listen to this religious figure, dressed in a white gown, had a hat on his head and a long beard. And I was amazed looking around the auditorium and saying, oh man, all these troublemakers, all these criminals are sitting respecting this religious man.
Why do you think that was?
They took their faith seriously. Okay. What would I say? They were absolute fans of their faith. They took their identity as Muslim seriously. When a religious man, they will sit up and take note and respect him. Now, we never respected any teacher, let alone a religious figure. So I was sort of impacted by that. I said, wow, what does this guy have that the teachers don't have? And that planted a little seed in my mind. And then I was invited to the mosque, and that's where he went to the next level. And that guy, Sheikh Ahmed, he started questioning me. We sat down. It was interesting. It was a room in the Grand Mosque of Australia in Lakemba. Some joke it's Lebkemba, but Lakemba. And there was a room up in the back. I was invited to go in, and I saw these men sitting on the floor and with butcher's paper rolled out on the floor, and they're all sharing each other's plates and they're eating. And this was during Lent of my final school year. And funny enough, I don't know why, I asked my mum that year, Muslims have Ramadan, what do Christians have? And she said Lent. And what do Christians do? You give up meat on Friday. Okay. And that year, funny enough, I gave up meat on Friday. This was a Friday. For no other reason than that's what Christians do. I was inspired by the Muslims doing it. I did it. And so I was invited to have some salad. I did. And then some meat, and I didn't. I said, oh, no, I'm fasting. But you just ate salad. Oh, no, I'm fasting from meat. But that's not fasting. I said, oh, what do you mean?
Pansy.
Well, you're eating. Yeah, that's right. Well, in Islam, we fast from sunrise to sunset. That's
so
water.
Cool.
And I said, you're eating. Clearly, you're eating. He said, that's not fasting. And then right away, he compared the two. He said, which is better, the Muslim fast or the Christian fast?
Yeah.
Fair
Muslim
enough.
fast.
Absolutely, that's harder.
Just,
and then back of my mind, 1-0 to you.
You look at Islam just superficially, prima facie. It just looks like a far more masculine religion.
Yeah,
it looks like
here are men and women who take their faith seriously.
And of course, you know, I guess it depends on what Muslims you're looking at. But I remember my wife and I were in New York City making our way back to the airport, and we saw some of the airport workers all doing their prayers together. You're like, there's just something masculine about that. It's very attractive.
That's right. They're courageous. They're not afraid to practice their faith in public. Yeah. Sometimes on the side of the highway, you'll see the rug go out, and they're facing Mecca,
awesome.
and they're praying, and they're witnessing to their faith. And that's what inspired me.
Meanwhile, we can't find time to do our prayers, or we give up meat sometimes on Fridays, and if we can, and we have this sort of like
side of the cross. Don't let anyone see.
And we have this big dispensation culture, right, in the church. Where it's like, well, it's okay. Like, well, I mean, technically, it's all these technically, so we do the bare minimum. Unlike people like Derek, he's Orthodox here in the studio today. What's up, Derek?
Hey.
Derek's Orthodox, so Derek's hardcore.
But you know how to do the Trinity, right?
That's right.
I love the Orthodox side of the cross.
They're cool. I love them. But yeah, I mean, they fast like men, and we have so much to learn from them. Sorry, but continue.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So that's cool. Okay, so you were kind of inspired by these friends of yours to be like, all right, Mum, what do we do? We fast. And then this fella's like, that's not fasting.
That's right. So that was the first challenge. Right away, I was challenged. Christianity is a weaker faith right away.
Yeah.
We finished lunch. We sat down in the corner of this room. And then he said, okay, now my nickname, Charbel is my name, but I grew up as Charlie. And it's a common thing, a lot of Charbels, because it's an Arabic or Syriac name specifically, and you say it like this, Charbel, very hard, it's a tongue twister.
Mm-hmm.
And so in kindergarten, the teacher, my parents said, oh, Charbel is his name. And I went, sorry, what's that? Can I just call him Charlie? And so then Charlie was my name, to the point where my first tax file number and my job, I was Charlie, and my license had my birth certificate name, Charbel, but all my taxes and stuff and all those forms were Charlie. Okay. So I actually literally would tell people, my name is Charlie, and that's what they knew me as. So anyway, this Muslim imam said, Charlie, how do you Christians pray? That's how he said it. And I started reciting the Our Father, but halfway through he stopped and he said, so you're calling God Father? I said, yes. Don't you have an earthly father? I said, yes. So he said, why are you calling God Father then? Because he's our Father. Well, you can't have it both ways. What do you mean? Well, you're putting on God human attributes. That's an insult to God. You shouldn't do that. Fair enough. 2-0 to Islam. So in the back of my mind, Christianity 0, Islam 2. I love my scoreboards. Then he said, who taught you that prayer? Here we go again. Oh, it's Jesus. And who is Jesus? Oh, he's the Son of God. Oh, so God has a son now. How can God have a son? I don't know. It's got a son.
By being a father, I told you.
Yeah. I wish I had that answer. I didn't even have that. And he says, no, God can't have a son. Okay, 3-0, you know. And then he said, but hold on, isn't Jesus supposed to be God in Christianity? He said, yes. So God is talking to himself. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it? 4-0 to Islam. And then he said, but don't you Christians believe in a Holy Spirit? Yeah. And don't you believe that's God as well? I said, yeah. So you believe in 3 gods? No, it's 1 God. No, it's 3. No, it's 1. 3. Explain it. And all I could do was the sign of the cross. And I couldn't go any deeper than that. That's all I could go. It's terrible. 5-0. And then he says, look, he went on and on. There's so many different arguments, like the crucifixion, you believe that Jesus died on the cross. He didn't die on the cross because if he did die, and if you believe he's God, well, then that would be the end. In Islam, he's a prophet, but we don't say he died. He was replaced, substitution. So Judas Iscariot replaces Jesus on the cross. I said, interesting. Out of all characters, Judas, but so Jesus was on the cross, but he didn't die on the cross. And I didn't. The penny didn't drop till later on, but I said, okay, 6-0. Like they got to about 10 points to 0, and I was like, I was in this corner thinking I've got nothing. And he even noticed. He noticed like, are you going to ask me anything? And I had nothing. And he said, I want to invite you to close your eyes and say in Arabic, there is only one God and his prophet Muhammad, in Arabic. And I did it 3 times in front of witnesses. And I opened my eyes, and he said, welcome, brother. I said, you're a Muslim. All right. I just said the Shahada prayer, and he gave me a towel, a white gown, and I went to have a shower.
Wow.
And
that's way easier than RCIA.
Yeah, that's right. Just boom. You just witness. That's like the baptism, basically, initiation. I went and had the shower, but really weird. I was nervous. Have I just become a Muslim? Okay. I'm not a religious person, but now here I am. I'm going to leave Christianity. What's mum going to say?
Surely she knew about your Muslim friends.
Oh, yeah, because I used to ask questions, and she'll give me some answers, but I never remembered them, and it didn't make 100% sense to me.
So was she concerned that you were gravitating towards Islam, or was she grateful that you may have been going on a better track from someone who was not really following your Christian faith?
I wonder if she did. She may have been concerned, yeah. She did warn me a few times, be careful, don't go too far, but she did notice I was asking questions, but I wasn't 100% convinced at the time. But then the final year I did fast from meat in Lent. But none of us brothers, I'm one of 6 boys, and we all had the same upbringing, but none of us were going to church at the time. None of us. We just completely drifted. But I have to say, in that shower, I was moved to pray. And I didn't know how to pray except for the Our Father and the Hail Mary. And so I said it in the shower while I'm washing myself. And I'm still going. I know one Hail Mary. I did another Hail Mary. I did 10 Hail Marys. I did a decade of the Rosary without realizing, just coincidence. And I finished the shower. I put this white gown on, and as I'm finishing the 10th Hail Mary, I'm about to say amen, and I hear a little whisper, not through my ears, just an inner voice, not yet, not yet. Who was that? I took it off, put my normal clothes back on. Was that Our Lady? I don't know. I was addressing Our Lady at the time. I possibly. But I came out to the main area, and the Muslim man said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Look, I don't know my faith. It's not fair that I leave something I don't know. Let me investigate, and I'll get back to you. I just want the truth." And he says, "Fair enough." I said, "Pray for me. I just want the truth." He goes, "All right." But I was moved to ask one question. Finally, here comes the question. He says, "Okay, anything." I said, "In Islam, a man can marry 4 wives. How is that right in God's eyes? How can you do that?" And he says, "Good question. First of all, not every man can marry 4 wives. Well, then who can?"
Me.
Well, the Prophet Muhammad could do 11, have 11 wives. But he said, only those who can treat them equally. I said, "What do you mean?" Well, this was the example he gave me. If you buy one a house, you buy all 4 a house. If you buy one a car, you buy all 4 a car. Whew. Okay, that's it. And he said, "Yes. There's got to be more to it." And then I said, "You can't love them equally. You're going to have a favorite. You can't." And he says, "Well, does your mother love all her children equally?" Now, I'm only 18 at the time. I didn't have any theology behind me, no theology body stuff, none of that. But I knew that was different. The love between a husband and a wife is different to the love between parents and children. I said, "That's a different love." And then he said, "Love is love." It wasn't significant, that slogan at the time, but it's become very popular today and for many reasons. So in this case, love is love was used to justify polygamy. And I wasn't satisfied with that answer. And I said, 1-0 to Christians, or I took 1 off the Muslims. So I wasn't satisfied. I thought, no, there's more to it than that. That's not good enough.
Was this conversation immediately as you were leaving and saying, "Pray for me"?
That's right. All there. And then I thanked him for his time, and I went and my friend.
Can I just say that takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that? Because I think I think one of the reasons people join religions or other ideologies is because of community. Like we want to be a part of something bigger than us. We want people to call us brother, like he did to you.
Yes.
And so for him to welcome you like that, presumably there was other people around.
There were, yeah.
And then you've gone, you've had this shower. You could have walked out and been embraced, and you chose not to. That took courage.
I have to point it to maybe that prayer, that little whisper in my ear, just not yet. So just like give Christianity a chance. Don't give up yet. Just study it first. But I wasn't convinced about Christianity. I was convinced about Islam. It made sense to me. And I left that thinking, I'm a Muslim. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not practicing. I can't call myself a Catholic. And I got home. It was late from school. And my mother said, "Where were you?" I said casually, "Just at the local mosque." And you can imagine, what? She gave this huge slap across the face.
Oh, that's nice.
Love it. Right here. And she says, "You go now to Jesus and you ask him if he wants you to be a Muslim or Christian. He's in the Quran." I said, "Yes." So, well, if he's a prophet, well, he's going to tell you the answer, right? Yep. Go. And I
love
went
your
down.
mum already.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Two things I know about her. She slapped you. And that's it.
Yeah. I dedicated the book to her because if it wasn't for that slap, life would have been different. Her name is Yvette, so I love you, Mum.
Yvette. To my mother, Yvette.
That's right.
Raish. Is that how I say your last name?
That's right.
Thanks for laying the foundations of faith in my life and giving me that slap in the face.
Yeah.
I needed it.
Absolutely. So I went to the local church. St. Michael's Belfield was my primary school. And this was one of the very few churches in the country that remained open 24 hours. So thank God, at 6 o'clock at night, it's open. And I walk in, and there's the red light on. And I remember in primary school, the teacher told us that when that red light's on, Jesus is present. I said, okay, all right, Jesus, if you're really here, show me. And then I knelt down, and it was the first time I really directed a question to God or to Jesus from my heart, wanting an answer. I think I gave him lip service all my life. Our Father's, Hail Marys, rattle them off, and I didn't really connect. But this time I was looking at that box, the tabernacle, the box. I didn't know it was a tabernacle then. All right, if you're really here, show me, do you want me to be a Muslim or Christian? And do you know what happened? Nothing.
Oh.
But that's significant because it was dead silent. And I couldn't get my eyes off that box, and I was waiting for a sign. And that was a miracle in the first place, because during high school, I never sat still for 1 minute, let alone 30 minutes. This went for, I believe, around 30 minutes. And I was just dead locked on that box. I don't know. I was waiting. And then an elderly woman came in the church, and she lit a candle. And then I thought to myself, she's going to heaven. What a holy woman. But then instantly a flashback to one of my discussions, only Muslims go to heaven. Why? What do I mean? I'll just explain. According to Islam, when you die, you're going to meet your judge. Everyone's going to be judged. You'll be judged on your more ticks than crosses. So if you've done more deeds, you go to heaven. You've done more bad deeds, if you're a Muslim, at least, you'll have temporary punishment, and then you'll be purified, and then you go to heaven. But for anyone, if you die and you meet your judge, you've got to answer 3 questions. Very basic stuff here. Who is God? It's Allah. So Allah is the Arabic word for God. It's not the Muslim God. It's just an Arabic word for God. But you can't say it in any other language. It has to be Arabic. So if you say God, Elohim, Dios in Spanish, or any of these other names, that's not good enough. It has to be Allah. So if you get that wrong, you go down. The second question is, who is his prophet? Of course, it's not St. John the Baptist. It's not Moses. It's not Elijah. It's not any of those. It's Muhammad. You get that wrong, you go down. And the third one is, what's the true religion? And of course, it's not Judaism, Buddhism, or Christianity. It's Islam. You've got to get 3 out of 3. And if you don't get 3 out of 3, you don't enter heaven. That woman is definitely not going to get 3 out of 3. So she's going to hell. That can't be right. I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't convinced. So that's my second sort of moment. Oh, there's a flaw here. And I look back at the box, and I kid you not, Matt, I remember seeing an outline. I looked away, looked back. It was like a shadow of a face. I thought it was going crazy. Look back, look away, rubbing my eyes. About a minute solid, there's this shadow, what appeared to be a man with a beard, and then an inner voice, Charbel, not Charlie, Charbel, my baptismal name, which was significant. Are you going to give up all that I've done for you? And I believe at the time that was Christ. Jesus was speaking to me there and then. And my little 18 years of my life flashed before me. All the time that my mother told us the rosary, all the miracle stories I heard about Jesus, walking on water, healing the blind, the sick, and all that. And I had to answer that question. No, Lord, I'm not going to give you up. And this huge weight came off my shoulders. I called Jesus Lord for the first time in my life, and I could breathe. I'm a Catholic. I'm going to remain a Catholic. That's my answer. I'm a Catholic. I'm not a Muslim. And now I need to know why. And I walked out of that church on cloud 9, and you wouldn't believe it. The very next day, my best friend, Ali, at the time, he said, "Hey, Muslim brother, how's it feel to be a Muslim?" He thought, that's it. I was a signed, sealed, delivered. And I said, "Listen, Ali, I don't know my faith. Don't look. I'm not a Muslim yet. If God wants me to be, he'll show me. Please pray for me." He said, "Absolutely." But then I asked him a question. I said, "If God calls you to be a Christian, will you answer that call?" He says, "Oh, he's not going to do that." And then he brushed it off. And then we never spoke about this again. And other guys tried to convince me, and I went to different debates, and I did all that. But you wouldn't believe it. Out of all the parishes in the country, this very parish, St. Michael's in Belfield, had what was called Lumen, verum, apologetics. They had Friday night classes. Guest speakers would come, and they'll teach the faith. And I said, I need this. And I went. Now, it was funny because in the early years, I never sat in class. Like I said, I never had an attention span. So I would fall asleep during these classes because they'll talk about the Second Vatican Council and the papal encyclical and words like transubstantiation, which I could never pronounce and let alone spell, and I would fall asleep. I said, this is over my head. Early church fathers, and it was too much for me at the time. But there was Q&A time, and then I'd wake up from the Q&A because when people clap and then you wake up. Question time. How do you know God is real? How do we know that God is Trinity? How do we describe this? How can God die on the cross? Can you explain how God can have a son? Why do we call God Father? All those things. I was like a fire hose. I wanted to get out all that stuff that I didn't know how to answer. And bit by bit, week after week, I got my answer. And I would go back and just be convinced. All right, great. It was all in the head right now. So it's just learning why Catholicism made sense. Christianity made sense. It's a Trinitarian God, and I get it. And I started to study, so in between the Fridays, I started to listen to, here we go, a man named Scott Hahn. Apparently he's from this area. Yeah, he lives in this area. So I heard
what year
about
is this, 2000, 99?
So 2000, I was going to the Lumen, verum, apologetics. I heard of him, but I never listened to him. And it was until a retired priest friend, shout out to Father Chris, a Benedictine monk, retired Benedictine monk, gave me my first Scott Hahn cassette.
Wow.
And that cassette was called Calling Catholics to Become Bible Christians and Vice Versa. I remember it clearly. I've actually got that original set.
No
it's a
way.
A cassette set. Do you know what cassettes are, by the way?
Yeah, well, I do.
You would at least remember them. Maybe, Liam might not.
Or Neil, I don't know.
Yeah, Neil. Do you know what a cassette is?
Yeah. Did you've told Scott this, no doubt?
Yes,
this story?
Absolutely.
It's amazing, isn't it?
He says he's amazed. Because he doesn't know. I mean, he just shares his story, shares the truth, and God does the rest. And the amount of people he's impacted in this world,
It's
only
incredible.
God knows. Yeah, my goodness. But I love that set.
Father Ryan?
No, not
Chris.
Chris Ryan.
Father Chris.
There is a Father
that's
Chris
right.
Ryan.
I think I was getting
He's a good man.
the MGL.
Yes, that's right. It's not him. It's another Father Chris.
Okay, but he gave you this tape set.
That's right. He said, listen to this. I said, I did. And I said, oh, I want more. You got any more? And he said, what is the covenant? Which was brilliant because it talked about the Trinity. Mm-hmm. Love it. I needed it. And then he gave me his conversion story. Love it. A Protestant minister becomes Catholic. And not that I was really into the Protestant Catholic thing. I was looking for Islamic apologetics. But I just loved him so much. I started to listen to Scott Hahn, Common Objections and the Lamb's Supper, the Fourth Cup. I mean, all this stuff was just brilliant. And I would go to work because I left school by now. I started to work and I listened to a cassette on the way to work and listened to another one on the way back. So I'd get 2 hours of teaching every day. Plus I'd go to the Lumen, verum, apologetics, and then I enrolled in a Catholic Adult Education Centre. So this was Father John Flutter, my current spiritual director. He just taught basic catechism, the creed, all the meat and potatoes of the Catholicism, and I just soaked it up, wrote notes, and then I joined these philosophy classes. So actually, you'd love this. St. Thomas Aquinas classes. Alice Nelson, her name was, and she followed Dr. Woodbury style. So shout out to Dr. Austin Woodbury. He's passed away now, but in the heyday, he used to teach philosophy to adults. 800 people, I understand, would turn up every week who just did it for free, and will go through Thomist philosophy, the 5 proofs, and will go in metaphysics, eschatology, theology, natural theology, philosophy, all that. It was beautiful, and I did 2 years of this. And
so hang on, you're getting, so what's going on with your Muslim friends as you're entering into these apologetics classes?
Yeah, so we've left school, we've graduated. We would see less and less of each other, but we would still catch up, but not talk about religion. And I never not talk about it at least 2 years.
Now, were your friends having a deepening conversion to Islam as you were? They
started wearing the white gown. They started wearing the hat. They started growing their beard. They started taking it really serious. Yeah, it was funny. I saw the transition in their lives. Which, look, it's in a sense, it's a beautiful thing because they left a life of crime and they entered into this, prayerful life. They would pray 5 times a day, which was, to me, inspiring. Getting up before sunrise. I couldn't do that, and to this day I struggle to do that. But that was inspiring, and I would respect them for that, and I still had a respect for them as I was studying my faith and learning and falling in love. And then I came across a Tim Staples set called Islam Exposed.
Ooh.
It was just what I needed.
Who gave you that?
The same priest. So Father Chris,
What a
he
man.
introduced me to St. Joseph Communications. The funny story there is. I didn't know that how much I love this, and I would share this. So I was already practicing the ministry, if you like, without knowing, but giving free cassettes to people.
That's how
Listen to this.
Parousia Media started.
It was starting out of a need to share the faith.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I couldn't contain this. I was so excited about my newfound faith. It was the same faith, but my discovery of it, appreciation of it. And I took all this stuff for granted. In 2001, I met another young man, Paul. God bless you, Paul. You know who you are, Paul Chalita. He was the other young person that came in my life on fire. He had a radical conversion too. And then he started to fall in love with Our Lady.
Dude, we would have become best friends if we had met in 2001.
Wow.
Because 2000 in August was my conversion from agnosticism, religion stupid, it's all whatever. Encounter the person of Jesus Christ. I would show up at parties where I used to get drunk and I'd just bring my Bible and I'd want to tell people about Christ and pray with them.
Yeah.
My drunken friends would knock on my window at my house at 2 a.m. crying because I just did something stupid. We'd walk down to the church. I had the spare key that the priest gave me. Go sit before Our Lady, light candles, pray the rosary.
Wow.
We're about the same age. It's amazing how the Lord was working.
Absolutely. Look at that, simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, at that early, 18, 19, 20, I did. So I had a conversion here. Mm-hmm. I had the encounter, but I still needed to deepen my relationship. I wasn't there 100% yet. I was convinced about Catholicism, but I still had more. The Lord was still working on me. I was still going clubbing at the time.
Yeah, me too. Like an idiot.
I remember turning.
But I would wear my scapula. That's what I would do.
That's right.
I would pull the back of the scapula down and I would let it bling. I still wanted to go to the clubs. I wasn't willing to leave the world,
funny.
but I really wanted to make everyone feel very uncomfortable by telling them about Jesus 24/7.
I remember changing the lyrics to the songs because a lot of them provocative. I'll turn them into, instead of like a lover, it would be God. And I'll justify myself like, this is like praise and worship right now in the clubbing.
Unfortunately, it's kind of similar. But
that's right.
Just going to have a minty while we talk here.
Please enjoy.
Do you want a minty,
like
anybody?
You need.
Yeah, Liam was
one
having
of those and it almost broke my teeth.
Yeah, I've got to be careful.
Just suck on it a little bit, let it melt a bit, and then you slowly, and then you can chew on it a bit later. It should take a few minutes. You'll love it. Very refreshing. Oh, the Caramello Koala.
I'll take koala, yeah.
Get ready.
Whoa.
Oh,
I'll try that again.
the caramel will
And
ooze
this
out.
is made with real koala, I understand.
No, we don't eat koala.
There's a very funny joke. There was a duo in Australia, not Lano and Woodley, but the Scared Weird Little Guys.
Okay.
And they said they were pointing out the Australian flag. You guys know what the Australian flag looks like, do you?
I'm familiar with it.
And they're like, and up here in the top corner, we have the Reebok symbol. Because I guess Reebok used to use the British flag as a symbol.
Oh, that's funny.
They sponsor Australia, and then we send them koalas to make shoes out of.
Oh, my goodness.
And then when everyone was like, oh, no, don't worry, it's only the baby ones. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
Perpetually drunk. Aren't koalas like perpetually drunk?
That's what you hear. Is that
No,
true?
they
Because
are.
they eat the...
sleep 20 hours a day. They're always sleeping, and they're having eucalyptus leaves all the time, which is poisonous. But they got used to it over time.
It's kind of badass, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kind
it's
of cool.
Good for them,
You know, hanging out, eating poison,
Oh man, and surviving. They would survive.
civil disobedience.
I have some
Screw you guys.
terrible news from Google is that koalas are neither drunk nor high constantly.
Yeah, what do
What's
they
it
know?
say?
It says, are koalas drunk? It's a common myth that could spread around as an explanation for why they sleep so much.
What
We're
are
here
they?
to debunk that myth. Koalas only eat gum leaves. That
Yep.
part is true, but the leaves don't cause them to get drunk or high.
I think we might need to fact check.
I feel like you just contradicted an Australian guest. On Australian.
I'll go in and correct
we
this
can
article.
test it. Now you have to test this. Eat some eucalyptus leaves.
We'll see what happens.
And just see what
I see.
happens.
Yeah.
Did you
And
bring
then
any?
I didn't because apparently California has some.
Yeah, they do
realise.
actually. Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yeah, it is. It is. Enjoy.
You
Enjoy.
know, when I went down to Australia, when my now wife visited me in Australia for the first time, I took her on this really terrific date, and one of the things we did is she got to hold a koala.
No,
And you know,
special.
people look at koalas. I think they're super cute and cuddly. Yeah. And the lady literally gave her the koala and went, "Now just don't touch him on the face, or he'll claw you," or something like that. It's like, oh my gosh! So she was sitting there nervous. The koala crapped in her hand. Another badass move from a drunken koala who doesn't give a shit.
Oh, that's so good.
funny.
That's so good.
So, how's your mum feeling at this point when you're super into your faith? And
Yeah, she was very encouraging. Like at this time, I did go to church, but I went to confession for the first time since my first confession. And the priest knew me. He knew me from primary school.
Mm-hmm.
He fell off his seat in the confession. He still doesn't forgive me today. I mean, he did forgive me at the confession, but he would still bring it up like, you are just crazy. What on earth were you doing? You know, and he's a good man. Shout out to Father Slattery. God bless you. Retired now, but he's good. I needed him. I needed someone. He was a hard hitter. It was those Irish priests that just hit you between the eyes. I needed it, and he laid down the foundation. But I would pray the rosary. And really, it was hard in the first year. Even though I had the foundations, it was just, it's not enjoyable. Prayer wasn't enjoyable. Mass wasn't enjoyable. I have to be honest here, it wasn't enjoyable. And I asked my mother, okay, you seem to like prayer. Do you really like it, or you're just sort of saying that? Because I don't like it at all. And I know we have to pray. I know we should pray. I know we have, it's like vacuuming the carpet,
Right.
It's a chore. You have to do it. You got to turn up. But I don't like it. She goes, why don't you ask Jesus to help you enjoy prayer?
Your mum is awesome.
Very simple. Okay.
Is she watching right now?
I doubt it. She doesn't know how to use the internet.
I like your mum even more now. I can't wait to meet her one day.
Oh, yeah, please do. She's there on the back of the DVD set. Her face is on there. You'll see her.
Mumsy.
But I did. All right, Jesus, here we go again. Help me to enjoy prayer. This was in 2001, so 2 years after the conversion, and I said, can you help me enjoy prayer? Just simple. I don't even think I was concentrating. I just threw it out there that night. Within 3 weeks of that prayer, it was Lent, and I made a little promise to turn up to the church on the way to work for a minute, and on the way home, just to say, g'day, how are you, Jesus, and go home. And I did. 1 minute became 2 minutes, became 3 minutes. I stumbled into daily mass. I heard the readings. The Beatitudes were read that day. And I just, whoa, that impacted me. Jesus did what? He said what? Love your enemies. What? Turn the other cheek. What? Who says that? What? Who is this God that says that? If someone walks 1 mile with you, walk with him too. They want to take your coat, give him your shirt as well. What? Blessed are those who persecute you and violate you and speak evil of you. What? And it's like 2 years here I am studying, and I did hear that story. I was familiar with that story, but it never impacted me like it did that day. I need to read the Bible. Even though and this is the weird thing, I was listening to Scott Hahn, but it was funny. I was only listening to it to win an argument. I was listening to it at the time. How do I respond to Muslims? How do I justify Christianity? And it stayed up here, and it didn't go deeper. Mother Teresa says, the longest journey is from the head to the heart. Isn't that interesting?
Mm.
Just from there to there, and that can take the longest. And it took 2 years to go from there to there. I was finally impacted, and I said, I want to come back. I came back the next day to Mass. I started to read the Bible cover to cover, the New Testament first, the little Salvation Army Bible at the time, the little red one.
The Good News translation?
Yes,
I had
read
the same one. Yeah.
And in the end, look, to be honest, I read it. I loved Matthew. And then I just skimmed through the rest just to finish it. So I didn't give it the proper chance until later on. But I fell in love with the Beatitudes. So I just kept reading that. And then my friend, this Paul, shout out to Paul again, he wanted to go and pray the rosary every day at people's homes. So I said, let's do it. Now, I was sort of a shy person then, and I never wanted to show my faith publicly. I kept it to myself, even though I would bring it up at work here and there, but I was still shy. I couldn't sort of speak to multiple people. I could speak to one-on-one to someone, but I couldn't do it in masses. And here this guy is just larger than life. He's going out there saying what Our Lady did for him. And that inspired me. I said, yeah, all right. So after church, we would go to Sunday Mass back at the Maronite Church, St. Charbel's. And now I'm rediscovering this Maronite heritage I didn't really practice after 18 years. And after Mass, we would give out rosary beads. That was it, a little flyer, how to pray the rosary. That was a little apostolate we had. And let's do it. And we kept finding beads and was giving them out. And then we started nightly rosary at the parish. And then he had the idea of starting what was happening at Lumen, verum, apologetics at this church with young adults. But instead of doing like a full hour lecture, just do a half hour break. At half hour, just have a break, have some refreshments, and then go again. So in 2001, a group called Guardians was formed, and we've had many speakers come to that, and it was great. I met my wife there. It was a faith formation night. And instead of weekly, we did it fortnightly. So we just tweaked the model to make it more palatable for young adults. And we had 40 people there. The first speaker, Father Terence, spoke on the 4 last things. I remember it like it was yesterday. We're going back 20 years, 21 years. And I remember it. 40 people turned up. And I remember we had a pizza that night celebrating. We had a beer as well. All right, it's underway. And so I would go to Lumen Verum. I would go to Guardians. I would do the philosophy classes, adult formation, continue to listen to Scott Hahn. But now this next part of my life was pray. Pray a lot. And the miracle here is in Lent, I prayed every day and it increased in time. By the time I got to Easter Sunday, I was praying 3 hours a day. Now, you have to just pause and remember it was the start of just before Lent. I hated prayer. Yeah. I literally hated it. So that you can't explain that other than God's grace.
What did your 3 hours of prayer look like?
So there was a holy hour. So every night, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night, my mum's prayer group would pray the Rosary, Stations of the Cross, Divine Mercy Chaplet. They did the Cenacle. Father Gobi, they'd read that, and that filled an hour. And so that was 1 hour. In the morning, I'd go to Mass. Pray the Rosary before Mass, read the Bible. So then there was about another hour there. And throughout the day, I would also there would be half hour there where I would go to Father Chris's place and then we'll do Divine Office. He actually taught me the Liturgy of the Hours. He was a Benedictine monk, so we prayed the Benedictine way, which was 7 times a day. And he had this beautiful Psalter, the Psalms, where it was handwritten, and it was just beautiful. He had a little chapel in his house and would pray. And I started to learn the Latin responses. So my exposure to Latin started with Father Chris, and he would pray the Vatican II Mass, but in Latin. It was interesting. A lot of people who would witness it think, "Hey, that's the old rite." No, it's actually the new rite, but in Latin. And it was Ad Orientem. He would chant the consecration in Latin. It was beautiful. And I knew how to serve that Mass. And Father Fessia, God bless him, produced these little missals that was basically the Latin responses in the English there. So I'd follow in English, but Father Chris would do it, and I just fell in love. And then EWTN, I got to see Scott Hahn for the first time. I didn't know what he looked like. And it was the Lamb Supper series with Mike Aquilina, and I would watch that with Father Chris. So I would pray Divine Office, Mass, Chaplet, and then 3 rosaries a day. So the morning, the evening at someone's house, and then at night with the prayer group. I loved it. I can't describe it. My friends noticed the difference, and now that's where it gets fun. They said, "Hey, Charlie, what's going on? You're starting to pray a lot. Do you want to be a priest or something, And what's come over you? You become really religious." I said, "You know what? I know. I love God. I just love him." And he said, "Well, you have us to thank for it." This is my Muslim friend. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, if we didn't challenge you, you never were religious like this. If we never challenged you, you wouldn't be like this." And he hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, "You know what? You're right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have asked the questions." So every day I've thanked God for my Muslim friends. If it wasn't for them challenging me and me searching for the answers, I would have remained a lukewarm Catholic. Christmas and Easter, just tick the box, because that's what Catholics do. And then that's it. And that would have been my life. Or I would have remained a Muslim if I didn't have that encounter, if I didn't ask Christ. So I thank God every day for the Muslim friends, because that challenge really inspired me. And that same friend started to read the Bible. And then he asked me, "Hey, Jesus says in the Bible, he doesn't say anywhere that he's the Son of God. Can you show me?" I said, "Here we go. Now it's 2.5 years of formation with Scott Hahn, philosophy. I've just drenched like myself with prayer."
You're like revving in a garage, just waiting to go somewhere, just dying for anybody to ask you a question like that. That's right. To hold yourself back.
Yeah, it's been 2 years waiting, 2.5 years, and so we sat down at a cafe outside of a Woolworths. You call it Woolworths.
First job was at Woolies.
There you go. I worked there too.
Did you? Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Trolley boy.
Stacking shelves.
Nice.
But right away, he brought his Quran. I brought my Bible. And so we opened up page 1 at this cafe. And here we are. What are we? 20, not quite 21. In our 20, just turned 20. And the Quran opens up with, Allah, the most merciful one, a praise be to Allah, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Prophet. And then And then he goes on to the sayings, like the different sayings of Muhammad and God speaking. And it is sort of written in third person. It's funny when you read the Quran, it's not chronological, and it sort of does, it's lots and lots of different statements, but there's no sort of beginning and end. It's sort of sorted out. Some would say the largest surah to the smaller surah, but not every Quran is exactly the same, and that's another conversation. But in the Bible, it starts in the beginning. God created the heavens and the earth, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. And then God said, let there be light. Did you notice something? The Trinity is revealed in the Jewish scripture right there and then. God the Father created. God the Holy Spirit hovered over the waters, the Spirit of God. And then God the Son spoke. That's Jesus Christ, the Word, let there be light. And it's like deliberately, each verse is dedicated to a person of the Trinity. Isn't it interesting? Not that I want to minimize the Trinity to just each role, because where the Father is, the Son is, I get that. But the point is, the Trinity is stamped right there in Genesis. I wonder if the Jews took note of that. But then the big question I had, and thanks to Scott Hahn again, he asked a very profound question. What was God doing before that? You see, because we call God Lord, and in Arabic you would say, so God in Arabic is Allah, but Lord in Arabic is Rabb. And Spirit in Arabic is Ruh. It's a bit like the Hebrew, Ruh. Anyway, so what was God doing before he created? Because he's not the Lord of your life if he's no one to lord over. He's not the creator if he hasn't created. So who is he in his essence? And I asked my Muslim friend this. He goes, nothing. What do you mean nothing? So what was Allah doing? And he said nothing. Okay. One of the 99 names of Allah is love. He was loving, right? Yeah. Okay. Who was he loving? Himself. So that's not love. You can't love yourself. We used to have the term in Australia, a love me dude. Do you remember that at all?
No,
Maybe
sure.
in my region.
Say it again.
The love me dude. So you love yourself. You're sort of
really?
proud, and you look at you see yourself as a love me dude. We said, in Australia, you've got the tall poppy
syndrome.
We want to, anyone who stands out, sort of
That's
chop them
right.
down. Hey,
that's why Australians are continually critiquing Americans.
Yeah,
in my estimation.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, I asked him, and I said, so why? Think about it. If God is loving, who is he loving from all eternity when we weren't even created? He initially warned me. He said, you can't ask that question. That's forbidden. That's outside the Quran. I said, but I'm asking. Come on, we got to be able to ask. And he said, I don't know. I said, okay, let's look at it this way. If God is eternal and eternally loving, let's look at it this way. God loved another person, an eternal person, and that eternal person received that love. He goes, yeah, but that eternal person is not just going to sit there and take it. He's going to respond to that love. And so that eternal person, number 2, is going to return back. And that return of that love is a number 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Do you see what's going on here? And he says, yeah, God the Father, from all eternity, loved God the Son, who received the love and returned the love back to the Father as the Holy Spirit. There's 3 divine persons equally loving. Now, here's the thing. Did God need us? And he says, yes. To do what? To be slaves. Okay, interesting. If God needed us, for what purpose? He said to worship him. Okay, so God needed us to worship him. Don't you think he was self-sufficient from all eternity? Well, no, he needed us to share. Whoa, now you're diminishing God here. Now, Allah from all eternity loved, and I just described that. He paused and he said, I know what, he liked that description. He said, look, I'm going to lose my religion here. He stopped me and he said, what you're saying is making sense. I can't go any further with that. So that's all right. Can I ask you some other questions? So I'm on the front foot here asking questions, just asking questions. And I said, so if God from all eternity at some point in eternity, this is the mystery here, he decided to create. For what purpose? If Allah is the master, the all-powerful master, and we are the slaves, so God needed us to do his chores for him? Are we created to do jobs for God? He says, yeah. Really? So was God bored? Was God and I was starting to ask him like this. I'm 20 years old. And I said, look, if God loved, think about it this way. He pours out his love, and at some point This is the thing, the covenant. What is the covenant? Family. That family, that marriage, he begets children. Isn't that interesting? The consummation, if you like the marriage, the two become one, the one becomes three, right? In the marriage imagery. And the Trinity is like a family. And so he begets children. We're the children. God doesn't have children. No. Stay with me now, spiritually. And so then we are now the children of God. And what's our purpose? Yes, to worship him. Yes, to serve him. Absolutely. But it's ultimately to freely love him. Freely love him. And if it's not free, it's not love. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And he took it on board. Then I went on to the next thing. I said, in Islam, you believe that God didn't have a son. Can I ask you who the father of Jesus is? And then he says, he has no father. So how did Mary get pregnant? And he said this in Arabic, Ruhat Allah, which means Spirit of God. I said, bingo, we're on the same page here. You believe with the Christians. We believe the same thing here. We're on common ground. The Spirit of God is the Holy Spirit. And he says, it's not the Holy Spirit. I said, it's the Holy Spirit. It's not the Holy Spirit. We're back and forth. Come on, it's the Spirit of God. Where the Spirit of God is, that's God. So if God went into Mary, who's the Father? And then I know what you're saying. I said, come on, say it, just say it. Who's the Father? And then he said, no, it's not God. It's not God. And the point was, I wanted to show that if God impregnated Mary, as they would say, then it stands to reason that if Mary's the mother, God must be the father. But this is what I love about Christianity. We go one step further with Mary. She's a daughter of God the Father like all of us. Mm-hmm. Nothing different. But the moment she said yes to the angel, the same angel that spoke to Muhammad, Angel Gabriel,
allegedly.
To Mary. Allegedly, that's right.
Falsely.
And she says, let it be done unto me according to thy word. That moment, God, the incarnation happens and the Holy Spirit would overshadow her. She becomes a spouse of the Holy Spirit and mother of God the Son. I just want to repeat that because I think we miss it. Mary, the Theotokos, she's the daughter of God the Father, spouse of God the Holy Spirit, and mother of God the Son. She radically, at that moment, is transformed into someone elevated right now. She's a human like us, a daughter like that, but now she's got this huge responsibility. He appreciated it, and I said, look, all right, so now he sort of understood where we were going with it. I moved on to the next thing. I'll just go one more, and I know there's a lot I can go. I'll just do one more here. I said, you teased me in high school about Jesus not dying on the cross. First of all, you said there was no evidence. Actually, there's plenty of evidence. But before I go there, let's quote the Quran, and I encourage people to go to this. Surah chapter 4, 157. Surah 4, 157. Read it. It talks about Jesus being on the cross, or what was made to appear so. Now, here's the weird thing. When you read before and after, there's no context. It's just thrown in there. And I asked my friend, so Jesus was on the cross, but he didn't die. He goes, bingo. Okay, so he was on the cross. He said, yes, but he didn't die. He goes, no, Judas replaced him. Okay, but he was on the cross. He said, yes. Why is he on the cross? And then he said, well, I don't know why he was on the cross. Because that's a very important point. If you agree that Jesus was on the cross, we can agree this happened in history. Yeah. Now, you don't agree he died on the cross. Fair enough. Fair enough. We won't go there yet. But why was he on the cross? And he couldn't answer it. And I've asked many Muslims, why was Jesus on the cross? Now, this is interesting because I think these days they're trying to sort of explain that away by saying, okay, now he actually wasn't on the cross. But for many centuries, and a lot of Muslims will say today, he was on the cross and there was a substitution that happened. Judas replaced him. That's one theory. There is another theory that Jesus was on the cross. He didn't die. He was unconscious because 3 days later they saw him walking around on earth. Ah, yes. Very convenient. Resurrection. But I said, what did Jesus do wrong to deserve being on the cross? He couldn't answer it. We know the answer. We know what happened. He blasphemed. He made himself equal to God and therefore was crucified for that. And so it's historical fact that a man from Nazareth, Jesus Christ, and Jews don't agree he was God, but they acknowledge a man from Nazareth died on the cross. Roman historians acknowledge, so secular history proves a man named Jesus, and BC AD. Let's look at it. It's 2022. before Jesus, after Jesus. I mean, come on. So this man existed, and he was on a cross. But why? And then you can go into the C.S. Lewis, the liar, lunatic, or Lord. Now that you can establish that, then you can keep going. It's so fun. But the thing is, we stopped. He agreed to disagree. Like, I don't know. He said now to me, I don't know my faith. I need to go now study. He said exactly what I said to him 2.5 years ago before.
That takes humility.
And praise God, yeah. So he's been a good friend. He came to my wedding. I even launched the book. I got a handful of good Muslim friends, and because we were so good mates in high school, we still hang out. I didn't invite him to the book launch, and he called me up and he said, "Why didn't you invite me?" I said, "I didn't think you would appreciate the title, How Islam Led Me Back to Christ." And he said, "Look, I know you as a person. We're mates, and it goes beyond that." So
good for
I
him.
really admired, at least there was a mutual respect there. And when people, I give talks now a lot about this, and they'll ask, the first question that typically happens is, so how do you respond to the Muslim thing? Aren't Muslims like terrorists, or Muslims violent, and like, how do you reconcile all that? And here's the distinction. We have, and we do this today, and there's probably a good discussion maybe in the second half, but I love Muslims. God loves Muslims. They are children of God. But when we talk about Islam, now we're talking about an ideology. What we have to do is separate the ideology from the person. Stop putting on Muslims this ideology. They are children of God searching for salvation like us. So that we've got to give them a chance, invite them to salvation. But what we should do is mutually respect each other's freedom, but look at the idea of Islam as an ideology in search for the truth, because we both want the truth. And that's where we can get somewhere, one-on-one, not in a group. I don't recommend a group setting. It has to be one-on-one, because there's an element of, hurt, shame, and you're stepping out of the boundaries here. You're asking questions outside of the Quran, and it's a tough gig. You don't ask those questions; they're forbidden. And when you start doing that, it's a bit, you're in dangerous territory. So that's why respectfully do it. And I would say praise the good in Islam, where in the sense that they pray, praise be to God. They fast, praise be to God. They believe in a God, praise be to God. He's the creator, the oneness of God. So all the things that are in common, we say praise be to God. But then there is a point where the rubber hits the road and there's a separation. Did he die on the cross? It's a yes or no answer. It can't be maybe. He died. And why did he die? And why? Because he claimed to be God. We have to test that claim. Is he really God, or is he a liar or a lunatic? And that's where I love the C.S. Lewis thing. And then you can go somewhere with it. So any differences within Islam, we need to meet that challenge, but respectfully, and separating the ideology from the person. And I think you can go a long way that way.
That's awesome. All right, what we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to begin by doing 3 things. We're going to teach people what a Timtam slam is and change their lives. I'm going to ask you if Muhammad was prophet, lunatic, or liar.
Ooh.
And then we're going to take some questions from our patrons and local supporters. So if you're watching right now and you support us on Locals or Patreon, head over there, ask a question. We'll do our best to get to all of those right after this break. Cool?
Nice.
Exodus 90. You've heard of them, haven't you, Neil?
I have.
Well, the guys behind Exodus 90 have started Exodus 21. They're calling it a 21-day restart. So for 21 days, you, along with the friends you invite, pray and read through the first 2 chapters of Corinthians while practicing disciplines such as 20 minutes of prayer every day, abstaining from unnecessary screen time, that doesn't include Pints with Aquinas, obviously, abstaining from meat on Fridays, and fasting until 4 p.m. on each weekday. You can take this shorter opportunity to introduce your brothers, cousins, co-workers, fellow parishioners, and even your neighbors. It'd be kind of weird if you didn't know them. Just assume they're Catholic and want to torture themselves for 21 days on how to live like Christ and prepare them for Exodus 90 in January. So check it out. Go to exodus90.com/Matt, exodus90.com/Matt to get started. I did Exodus 90 once and I lived like a boss monster for the first 31 days and then failed miserably. So Exodus 21 sounds super
You would have
doable.
done great at this, yeah.
I would have crushed it, although probably because 21 days was the goal, I would have like faded out around the 11th day. I don't know. Exodus90.com/Matt. Go check him out to get started. People who have done it just says it really rejuvenates their prayer life and helps them. Exodus90.com/Matt. Link is in the description. Click it and check them out.
And that starts January?
You can start whenever.
Oh.
So Exodus 90 is going to be starting in January. So this 21 day can be like a little test.
I see.
But honestly, for me, I just do the 21 days. So you can do it whenever you want. Go check it out right now, exodus90.com/Matt. It's a great way to grow in friendship, too, with people in your community. Check them out. Also want to say thank you to Hallow. Sorry. Hallow is a really great prayer and meditation app. It is just phenomenal. Whenever I talk about Hallow, I'm always impressed that a Catholic group has been able to create one of the greatest apps in the history and catalog of current apps. It has sleep stories. It allows you to pray the rosary. It even has Mark Wahlberg praying the rosary. So you can pray with Mark Wahlberg, which is pretty cool. I just got back from a trip to Africa and I'm really bad at sleeping on airplanes. So I listened to sleep stories and people read the Bible to you and stuff like that. It's really, really good. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd. And also, when you sign up on the website, you get 3 months for free. So if you just download the app and sign up that way, you got to start paying monthly. But you can try it for 3 months. That's a long time. And you can see if you like it. And if you don't, you can cancel and you won't be charged a cent. Hallow.com/Matt Fradd. Finally, I want to say a massive thanks to everybody who's beginning to support us on Locals. Locals is a free speech platform that will enable me to continue putting out content long after YouTube may choose to ban us or suspend us, as Twitter did recently. So go to mattfradd.com/locals, right?
Link is in the description.
Link is in the description. And follow us there. We have morning podcasts. You get access to monthly spiritual direction with Father Gregory Pine. We release monthly audio books. For the month of August, we're going to be releasing, what's it called? Teresa of Avila's...
The Interior Castle.
Interior Castle. Yep. We just commissioned a study on the 5 ways of Thomas Aquinas by Dr. Ed Fazer. Hard man to get a hold of, but he has recorded the videos. They're fantastic. So just go support us there. And one more thing that we're doing is we've put together an ink on paper newsletter. It's phenomenal. I'm not joking. Isn't it? You saw it. Are you actually impressed?
No, I really like it. Yeah.
It would be awkward if you said
It's got a crossword too.
It's got a Catholic crossword puzzle and poetry and articles from theologians. And this will, when you get this, for free, by the way, we even pay shipping. So if you live in Namibia or Yemen or Australia, China, wherever, we ship it to you for free whenever these newsletters come out. And you can put your phone in a drawer or set it on fire, sit out on the back porch with a whiskey or coffee and just unplug. And just go to mattfradd.locals.com and join us over there.
And that's not extra. You just sign up for the local support.
Yeah.
And then
so what you got to do is once you sign up as an annual local supporter, that's how you get the thing. You can support us monthly, but if you support us annually, you get access to this newsletter. And we just ask that you put your address in. So once you sign up to Locals, there's something pinned to the top. Click through that, put in your address, and we'll just start sending them to you. Check it out, mattfradd.locals.com. Also, you don't actually have to pay to watch a lot of the content that we put out over on Locals. So download our Locals app. It's on iOS and Android. And start following us over there because it's an amazing community of Catholics all around the world that are supporting each other. It's not just me posting, it's also the supporters posting. I think people will really, really dig it. So mattfradd.locals.com. Check it out. Thank you very much. Final word. It'd be great if you subscribed. It'd be great if you then rang that bell button because right now we have a 100,000 trophy over here. We're over 250,000, which sounds more than 250,000, which is why I phrase it that way. And once we get 1 million subscribers, they will give us another plaque, at which point I will quit the YouTube channel, sell my house, and go live in the forest somewhere.
And read newspapers, ink on paper newspapers.
Yeah, and just read all of the newspapers that I've put together. Thanks so much. Go for it. You back?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a Timtam slam.
Yes.
I can't think of fewer things as gross as what we're about to do on live camera. Maybe if you just do the broad view, we won't make people vomit. But first of all, people need to know that a Timtam is what you Americans would call a cookie.
Yeah, that's right. Go for it. Thank you.
And they are the greatest biscuits. You can get them at Walmart and stuff these days.
Can you?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're that as good or
Are
if
they the originals, like from
I think so.
Arnott's?
Yeah, the
All
good
right.
Tim. I think
I better
so.
tell my American friends because they always want me to get some, and or they want to take back from Australia. But okay, that's good to know. So Walmart.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Have
do.
to-
All right, so just put the camera on me for this one
Yes.
because I don't want. Yeah, I don't want.
Yeah, not on me, on him.
All right, so you want
And
to
I'll
take a bite out of each corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Creating something of a straw, you see? And then what you're going to do is you're going to suck the coffee through the bottom, through the top. It's going to melt the cookie. Then you're going to eat it. But the deal is you're not allowed to look at each other doing it because it's the most disgusting thing ever. Now you're going to put the camera just on Charbel, Neil.
No, just
All right,
on
on both of us. All right, here we go. Ready?
Here we go. It's melting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's like 9 o'clock at night and I'm drinking espresso. Do you sleep after this?
Yeah, I'll sleep. Yeah.
How'd you go with jet lag? Did it smash you when you came over here?
A little bit. Because I never slept on the flight. Isn't that good?
So good.
I am a bit of a dunker. Do you dunk as well?
I do like a bit of a dunk. All those little Australianisms. Yeah, bit of a dunk, bit of a
That's it,
dunk. You know, I was saying we could write a little book on Australian sayings. I know there's a ton, but most of the ones I know are inappropriate. Do you know any good Australian sayings that wouldn't offend everybody?
Six of one, half a dozen of the other.
You say that here, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I've never heard.
What about so hungry I could eat the crutch out of a low-flying seagull? You know that one?
I actually don't know that one.
Well, you're welcome.
No, thank you.
Seraphim's like, what?
Yeah, I love the shrimp on the barbie is a popular one, but we don't. Really
don't say
that.
shrimp?
No, I don't say shrimp on the barbie.
Esky.
Esky, yes.
Is it cooler?
It's a cooler, a box that you put things in and
Yeah.
keep it cool.
Stubby holder.
Stubby.
McDonald's is called Macca's.
Macca's, yeah, you have to call it Mac. Actually, the Mac Cafe started in Australia.
McDonald's in Australia is so much better. Do you remember, Liam? It's so much
Yeah.
better.
I think the Australian beef is pretty good. So the beef industry is very good in Australia, even though the Macca's beef
but it's
is
great
not the
here
best
too.
beef. But it's I noticed there's a different the bread.
McDonald's
cheese,
here is crap.
vegetables and stuff. It's all. Do you have things like genetically modified and stuff? Is that what happens?
I don't know, but
Masco?
what are you laughing about?
We got somebody, I don't know if this is a real one, but the one we affectionately refer to as Moo Moo said, dry as a dead dingo.
No, hey, whoa, no need to read that one. But yeah, that's
You knew
one.
exactly where it was
Yeah, I
going.
knew that one.
Yeah.
May your chickens turn into emus and kick your dunny door down.
The dunny. Do people know what the dunny is?
Toilet.
The outside toilet, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The dunny. Love that.
You know what's funny is in Australia, we have a separate room where the toilet is. So you say, I'm going to the toilet because the toilet is usually just in one room. Because in Australia, we don't think you should crap in the same place that you bathe. But whatever. I'm not going to get into an argument about that. Point is, I remember when I was in Canada, I would still refer to the toilet as the toilet room, the toilet, even though the bathroom was in there. So I went to the toilet and I put my coat on the hook or something and I came out and I went, oh, hang on, I left my coat in the toilet. But to Americans, that sounds like you've put it inside of the bowl.
Because what we just, bathroom, or bathroom, sorry. I have to say bathroom. That's right.
Bathroom.
The bathroom. And then Canada, in Europe, it's WC.
Restroom in Canada.
Water closet. Is that right? In
I
Europe?
think that might be the case in
WC?
some places, maybe in England, some places.
Where's
I'm not
the
sure.
WC? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the water closet. All these euphemisms.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you like being here in America?
I do. I love it. I think there's so big. The lens I see America is through the connections I have with the Catholic apostolates. So I'm going straight to where all the good initiatives are.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm in a bit of a bubble.
Yeah.
I know. You go straight to Franciscan University, Catholic Answers. You've got St. John Paul the Great down there. You've got Augustine Institute. You've got all the great EWTN. It's just all beautiful, right? But I do watch a bit of the news about America, and
Why is Sky
unfortunately,
News so obsessed with American politics? Do you even know what Sky News is?
yeah, we have Sky News in Australia.
But why are they always talking about American things? Or is that just what comes up on my
think-
YouTube feed?
Maybe it's because of what you watched. I mean, we had all of them: CNN, Fox News, all that is available in Australia because it's on cable. If you've got cable, or look, these days no
That's
one's
so
really watching
funny.
TV. It's YouTube, right? So
Yeah,
YouTube pops up, and then
But
you
how
watch.
weird would it be if on cable in America you could get Australian news channels?
Yeah,
America's
that's
like, we don't
interesting.
care.
That's interesting.
They even call the World Series of baseball the World Series, even though there's two bloody American teams. Or Canadian, I guess. That is so funny.
Yeah, that's
I
funny.
love Americans so much. I really do.
Yeah.
I love living here.
I love I mean, if they're still there, those who still have it, the patriotism.
it's definitely here.
Yeah, there's a respect for the most part. I know that's changing lately. The whole woke culture is a very interesting phenomenon now, which is creeping into Australia.
Yeah,
and
big time.
we're picking it up from America. So, yeah, I find it funny because I would bring a lot of American speakers to Australia, and typically a lot of the Aussie like bishops and priests will say, "Hey, look, the American accent thing, we need some more Aussies." Absolutely, but you can't deny that the young people are watching Hollywood. They're watching MTV and all the music awards, and so
Is MTV still a thing?
that
Is it?
shows
I don't
my
know.
age, doesn't it? I
Well,
don't
I'm
know.
like you. I don't know. I'm totally
I'm
detached as well.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
I don't watch it, but that's what I remember.
Yeah.
So,
I remember
interesting.
I saw a clip on YouTube of Tim Staples giving an address, maybe in Sydney, on Islam.
Yeah, that was
And-
at the St. Charbel's church, where I met my wife and where we started that young group. We had over
That seemed
over
like
1,500 people.
Pretty powerful talk. And
was.
if memory serves, someone got up and they were challenging Tim quite
Yeah.
vigorously.
Yeah,
How did that
that's
go?
right. Really good. Tim responded. Now, because there were Sunni and Shiite Muslims in the room, and so we had the first one, the classic. It's the most common question: where in the Bible does Jesus say, "I am the Son of God, worship me"? And then Tim would give an answer, and then another person would jump up, and he invited the Muslims to ask the first question. Another guy, a Shiite, said, because Tim quoted some quotes from the Quran where it justifies beating husbands allowed to beat their wives. Now, the explanation is it's not like bash your wife; it's just hit her like
if
a
she's naughty.
disciplinary. Yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
And you don't hurt her, you don't like injure her. It's just a hit like a child. And then Tim said, "So you are now justifying hitting your wife, whether it's..."
Did he double down? That would have been
And
cool.
he said, "Yeah, but we don't hurt her. It's just..." And so he didn't see what he just said. It's like, mate, you just...
This doesn't look good for
It's
you.
not a good look at all. But in the end, they all came and thanked him. And a year later, we got Father Mitch Paco out, and we gave another talk called, what was it? Mary in Islam. And that was a powerful talk. And
awesome.
Father Mitch Paco, he reads Arabic. He
Yeah.
he knows Islam inside out, and he was quoting Quran, and then a few Muslims were in that crowd, same church, and they would ask him questions, and he would then respond things like the heresy, like the Gospels are not accurate. So the Gospels we have today, the big claim is that the original Gospels have been burnt and gone, and proof of that is because we have the American Bible, the New International Bible, the RSV Bible.
Yeah.
Christians can't agree on which Bible to read. Therefore, there's no authentic Bible. We can go into that. I mean, that's a fun one. But the idea is that Father Mitch Packwood just said, "Hey, show me the evidence. Where's the original Bible that you're talking about? And then you can make that claim. Until you show me the original Bible that you're talking about, that's corrupt, that we've corrupted, you can't make that claim. You got no evidence." And yeah, it was a great response.
Wow.
They thanked him, and at the end, they invited him to the mosque. They wanted him to talk to their imam. So what I admire, the Muslims in general are passionate about their faith, and they want to share it. And they invited Father Mitch, knowing like they just want to constantly respond. And I guess to affirm their faith or defend it, they do want to like convert you, and that's fine. They're trying to evangelize us too, but it's great that they don't hold back. They really want to just
awesome.
get out there. And you can count them on your fingers how many Catholics do that.
Yeah.
We're shamed. And
So
that's
was Muhammad a prophet lunatic or liar. I have my answer. What's yours?
Is it an either or? Can it be a both and?
Well, you tell me. What
All
are the
right.
two you want to choose? See if they contradict each other.
So a prophet, he would be a false prophet. A false prophet.
All right, so then so he's not a prophet.
Not a prophet.
All right, so you got two other options, or
Is
you can throw another
Is he
option.
a liar? To be honest, I don't think he was a liar because he truly believed he was possessed in the cave. It was his mother, it was his wife and uncle that convinced him that was the prophet Angel Gabriel. That now this is interesting. This is a lot of people don't know this part, but when Muhammad was in the cave, he describes like an experience that his heart was ripped out of his chest.
That's right.
Split, drained, and put back and shoved back in his heart. Basically, he felt possessed. And when he went out...
He was afraid too. He was. That was what he said to his wife at the time, right?
So I believe he was actually not lying.
Right. So that
Taken
leaves you
by
with
his
an
word.
option.
And then they convinced him, no, you're a prophet of God. And he was only 40, at similar age. Right? Here we go.
Yeah.
This is the age of realization. So as a 40-year-old, here he goes, and he goes out and he has to start convincing people about him being a prophet. And that's over time, he started to build up his followers. And so he had a lot of different peasants around, and they would come follow. And then he would try to convince the Jews, but then they didn't buy it. And then he got angry with them and started to call them, infidels. And so it's an interesting story when you follow it all. But he did do one thing. I have to give him one thing.
Do that
Again,
and then give us your answer.
Yeah.
You still need to...
I still got one more, right?
Well,
Is he a lunatic?
yeah, maybe he's a
Okay.
lunatic. Maybe there's another option, so you could come up with that.
All right.
I would say he was possessed. And I think that Islam has good in it, but is demonic ultimately. Not in that it's has an absence of any good in it,
Yeah.
or there aren't good teachings, or even things that we can agree with Muslims that we would disagree with secularists. But I do think that I think he was possessed or mad or both.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you
over
can't
time,
call him
both.
prophet,
No.
right, and you don't want to call him a liar, and if someone's claiming to receive revelation, he's either deluded. So maybe you don't want to go all the way and say that he was mad. You might say he was deluded. You might say he was hallucinating. You might say he was possessed. I think it's one of those. Whereas if I look at Joseph Smith from Mormonism, I would say I think he's a liar.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
But I think as you say that, I know it's very difficult to say something like that and then at the same time say, I really mean no disrespect to those who would follow Islam. I'm not trying to say bad things about
right.
you. You know, the Muslim who's watching the show right now, like you might have all sorts of objections to level against Christianity, but you can still give me the benefit of the doubt of being a man of goodwill, and I could give you that benefit of the doubt while still criticizing your religion, but I don't mean any personal offense to you.
perfect. Don't. Yeah. What's the saying? You play the ball, not the player. The ball. So it's the issue. It's the ID, and we're not making a personal judgment of Muslims.
Right.
And again, a reminder: we love Muslims. They're made in the image and likeness of God. They will face the same judge as we will. We all will face the same judge. We'll all be treated the same. But
you cannot be a Christian and call Muhammad a prophet.
No.
Can't.
No.
Have you seen what Thomas Aquinas has to say about Islam?
Yeah,
Can you,
no.
Neil, if you have time, go to pintswithaquinas.com, type in Muslim or whatever, and there's an episode where we read what Aquinas has to say in the Summa Contra Gentiles against Muhammad. It's brutal. We won't read it now, but if you can put a link in the description to what Aquinas has to say about Muhammad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
St. Francis of Assisi as well, right?
Yeah.
He went out and...
Because he went to try to convert something or other, some Muslim leader.
And that's it. You've got to... We've got to just do the same thing. Present the truth in love and never make it personal.
Because no one is super open to the thing you're telling me about if while you're telling me about it, you're also insulting me or coming off as super condescending. It's very hard to hear you if you're doing that.
Exactly.
And I know
we need to respect that. Like, flip the tables.
Yeah.
Do we like it if people are insulting
Yes, no,
the
we
Blessed
don't.
Mother or
Right.
Jesus, and then all you Catholics are idol worshippers and all you Catholics are this or that.
Right.
No, it's not nice. It's not right.
No.
We were talking about truth here, and it's an objective thing, and we have to look at it in unity and in peace and with an openness.
Yeah, there's a great deal we can learn from our Muslim friends. A great deal.
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
Christianity would become a lot more masculine if it would look to how Muslims practice their faith.
They have elements of the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what we say all religions have, elements of the truth, some
Right.
more or less than others.
Yep.
And we do say, not with pride, but with joy, we found the fullness of truth. The Catholic Church contains the fullness of that truth. Now, we have to continue to discover that and let it penetrate. If you don't understand something, pray for understanding, but there is the fullness. But every other faith would have more or less some aspects of that truth, you know. So we're all searching for it, and keep searching until you find it, because once you find it, the truth will in fact set you free, and you will be free, and you would find peace as well. You won't be at peace until you find that freedom. You won't find that freedom until you start searching for the truth, and you don't find the answers in the truth until you have an open heart and separate yourself. It's not personal. It's don't get all personal here. Is this right or wrong? And it's not either or. It's not both and. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's right or it's wrong. Anyway,
Do you want if we take some questions?
please do.
And then Derek or Liam or whoever else, Neil, if you have a thing you want to throw out, feel free. But this question comes from local supporter Emily Welsh. She says, very inspirational episode so far. I have to finish the rest tomorrow. What would be the single best book, aside from the Bible, y'all would recommend to explain Catholicism to someone trying to strengthen their foundations similarly to how Charbel did?
Wow. Okay. My goodness, there's so many options. Yeah. See, the first instinct, you say the Catechism, but it's probably a bit dense. You say the Compendium of the Catechism. Again, but they're good options. That's into the faith. I do like Trent Horn's one, Why We Are Catholic.
I was going to say the same thing.
I mean, it's the most simple entry point. Dr. Edward Shree has a book, Why We Are Catholic as well, which is sort of was made with the intention of being part of Symbolon. So that whole faith explained. Probably a bit heavier than Why We Are Catholic, but it's brilliant. Our very own in Australia, Dr. Robert Haddad, has Defend the Faith. It's an apologetics book, but it's a Q and answer style with church fathers and catechism quotes and scripture quotes. That's a really good one, available on our website. But that's Defend the Faith. That would be right there, but there's so many. It's very important with all this, and this is something I only learnt through experience, really, that we do not jump ahead too far in our spiritual life. We start baby steps, take it step by step, because once you can understand something, you're ready for the next level and then the next level. Sometimes if you jump for the heights and you miss everything in between, you're going to have no foundation. It's going to crumble, and you sort of can overcommit to some things in your faith, and then there's no foundation there, and all of a sudden you could be, as Jesus says, swept away with the sand. So you've got to have a good foundation. So the basics, the creed, the basic truths of our faith, and the meat and potato stuff is important, I think. And there's so much good stuff. This podcast is a start, but I think we need to learn in a systematic way, as well as on topics. We've got to do that, but we also got to start foundationally. So hope that helps. There's a few options.
Yeah,
there.
that's good. I would highly recommend Why We're Catholic by Trent Horn.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Catholic
Don't tell him I said that. I would never say that to his face again, but just behind his back there. And then check out ParousiaMedia.com, which is your website where you can learn more. Get books, probably
Absolutely.
MP3s or no?
MP3s, ebooks are on there.
Yeah.
There's a digital platform as well, like a
link in the description, Neil.
Yeah, please.
Cool.
Thank you.
Check it out. All right. Sam says, do you think that the Catholic communities in the East are the best modes of evangelization for Muslims due to them being such a heavy influence on Islam?
Certainly helps because they understand firsthand what it's like in the Middle East because of the persecution that's happened. The majority of the Middle East has become Muslim, but it's not all Muslim, and a lot of people forget. Some countries, like my mother is from Lebanon, and so Lebanon itself is still run by a Maronite Catholic president. It's in the constitution. You have to be a Maronite Catholic to be the president. And then the vice president or the prime minister is a Sunni Muslim.
Interesting.
Then the deputy vice is a Shiite Muslim. So that's the order.
Wow.
And it flows that way. So if you split that up, they pretty much are a third each. A third Christian, a third Sunni, a third. Now, the scary thing there is if you combine the Sunni and the Shiites, then you've got like 60%, 66% Muslims in Lebanon itself. But then you got the Chaldeans, the Iraqi Christians. I know it's getting smaller, but they're there and they're on fire. You still got some over there in Egypt and the Coptics doing their thing. And it's so powerful that they're out there. But they have been persecuted for years, and that would help. But it's not the be-all, end-all, to be honest. Anyone can understand. But I guess they've got a head start in understanding because of the language as well. Maybe those who speak Arabic anyway can pick up things in the Quran that might help. But again, I think today with the technology, the internet, and with the information we can get, it's really even playing field now. Anyone can learn about it.
Thanks. Lorenzo Golo says, do moderate Muslims, he says, really condemn their co-religionaries who defile churches in France, slaughter Christians in Nigeria, take Christian children as sex slaves in Pakistan, and in general kill priests, women, children, innocent people who had no fault but their Christian faith?
They would publicly disagree with that.
Okay.
They would publicly say, condemn the violence. Absolutely. They unfortunately, if I can say this, a bit controversial, but you have to be on the inside to understand this. You have to understand the how do Muslims view the non-Muslims? They have the truth in their mind, the fullness of the truth, and we and non-believers are either infidels or just non-believers, and they need to receive Islam. They need to become Muslims. They need to, and so they've got a mission to do. Now, if they are not open to it, so you can befriend someone until they deny Islam, and then something does change. You become now an enemy. So what happens is you have to, unfortunately, protect. The way to protect the world from this evil that is anti-Islamic, any non-Muslim who's publicly denying Islam, they have to be silenced in some way because they're spreading evil according to a Muslim, and that's how they're seeing it. And that's why the Sharia law and all that. It's whatever you need to do to advance Islam. And sometimes in history we've seen it. It's involved violence. It's involved threats. It's involved force. And we can't move away from that. It's a historic fact. This has happened. And I've experienced firsthand, and I've seen, and I know the conversations that happen behind the scenes, and I know what they say about the West. I know what they say about America. I know what they say about the Jews. I know what they say about Christians. And even the Quran itself says things about Christians and Jews. The first half is quite interesting, befriend the people of the book. The second half, it doesn't say that at all. You basically, you condemn them, and they're not equal. They're not equal to you. And even I remember, because I was good friends with them, I respected them, and I believed in God. They saw that. They said comments like this: I'm going to give you a glass of water. And I said, thank you. We Muslims have to be hospitable to those who at least believe in God. So you don't do that for an atheist? And this is where the Christian way is for everyone. So Mother Teresa wouldn't have said, if you're not a Catholic, I'm not going to help you. She would help everyone. And that's the Christian calling. In Islam, it's not necessarily that way. It's you help your Muslim first, and then believers in God second, and then everyone else is last. It's an interesting thing.
Since this book's released, and since you've been talking about this more and more, do you have Muslims challenging your representation of Islam?
Yes.
And what's that like?
It's very brief because they don't want to continue. I'm very happy to sit down one-on-one with anyone about this because I'm being real. I'm not here to judge you as a person. You're born in Islam. I'm not saying that's bad. You're born in it. But what I am inviting you to is to ask these bigger questions and journey towards the fullness of truth. And yes, I'm going to say it. Islam doesn't have the fullness of truth. It's got elements of it, but Jesus is either Lord or not. He can't be a prophet and God. It's one or the other. We got to decide. And then, going through all this, we have to be respectful of it. So I'm brief discussions, but no one's really come out and. Thank God I haven't had any threats or anything like that. So it's not like that. A lot of people assume it's...
No.
we have to be respectful of each other,
Yeah.
and when we do that, we can go a long way.
Who's doing the best work in kind of Muslim apologetics in the Christian or Catholic churches today?
You know, it's hard because everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. And so you had him on the show. I love what's his name there?
David Wood,
David
JP
Wood.
Imam.
David Wood knows his stuff.
Yeah.
But he knows what buttons to press, right?
Yeah.
So, and he deliberately presses those buttons.
Yes, he does.
And so then, and I get it. And so internally, we could laugh about things. And
Yeah.
the only thing you want to be careful of is how is that received by a Muslim, and will they go on? Now, I know why he's doing it, and I get it, and because I understand the way of thinking, and sometimes it's not being charitable the other way. I know Muslims, what they think of us, but and you got to, it's like dishing it back.
Well, when you say you understand why he's doing it, why is it that he's doing it in that way?
I guess he's doing it because it will provoke an emotional response, and it will get them. They're not reasoning. What happens is they become emotional about it, and they become defensive about it, and they take it personally, and then they start attacking him, and all of a sudden it's not a debate anymore. It's not a debate of ideas. It's personal attack. So the amount of times, I mean, God bless him, he's a courageous man, and I'd love to meet him, and learn. I learn a lot about what he's done with his work. He does great work.
I'll put you in touch with him if you want.
Yeah, thank you, please. And I'd love to meet more. I mean, Sam Shamoon's another one. He's not a Catholic, but he's doing great, and he invites them to Jesus. And then Robert Spencer, which he's written a lot on Islam, and
he just became Orthodox recently.
I just heard. Yeah. So yeah, we'll pray for that. Can we do that? Yeah. Sure. Who else are? Yeah, there's also there's another American lady over here. Oh man, I forgot her name. Sorry. She speaks ruthless about what happens in Islamic countries. But again, it's good stuff. But you take what you need is information, and remember, as long as you don't take it personally, we're good. Let's learn. Let's go for the ideas one by one. And so they're three on top of my head. Father Mitch Pacwa, I really love his style. He does a good job of it as well. Father Mitch. So can I point out Father Mitch Pacwa? I mean, yeah, he's definitely up there.
Any good debates? It was like the best Muslim-Christian debate online that you've come across.
Funny, as much as I wouldn't, I mean, Robert Spencer's had a few. And again, Robert, he presses those buttons too.
Did you see that debate between him and Kraft?
No.
So Robert Spencer and Peter Kraft debated whether Muslims are more of a threat than modernists or modern secular people.
Wow.
And Robert Spencer just destroyed Kraft. And I did not expect that to happen at all. Wow. Kraft was saying that, no, Muslims are our allies. We have more in common with them than we do. And,
when was this?
When you hear that, you're like, oh, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. This was a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago or so.
Oh, wow.
And I love Kraft. I think it's brilliant. And I think Kraft came to it more of like, I'm just having a conversation and I'm open, Whereas I think Spencer came in for blood, not in a bad way, but just like he was ready to go, ready to battle.
Yeah, he's highlighting the viewpoint, the worldview from an Islamic perspective, I think, and that's an interesting insight. So he is correct in his assessment.
Yeah,
it's just the question is that's not the way I would go about it, but it's very effective at what he's doing.
Yeah. Seraphim, you had a question.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to sort of phrase it. So, like recently, in my recommended on YouTube, all of these Dawa channels are popping up with these Islamic apologetics videos that are typically based in short form. There's an emotional appeal. Somebody has an emotional response to it. They say you just have to say this prayer, the Shahada, and now you're a part of the people of God. All of your sins are wiped away. You're good to go. And it just strikes me as how similar that is to like Protestant, evangelical, charismatic churches. In you come in on the spot, you could pray the sinner's prayer, and everything's good to go. So I wonder, in doing outreach or apologetics or evangelization to Muslims, do you think maybe has better footing there? Something similar like that in an evangelical circle, or something like a Catholic or Orthodox who has like a more rigorous life of repentance and there's work to be done there. Just maybe your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't hear of the stories, but apparently I heard a stat. There's 9 million Muslims are becoming Christian every year. Now, that's not necessarily Catholic, but Christian at least. And I think the Protestant church is doing great in this space of introducing them to Jesus. Whatever it takes to get to Jesus, right? Get to Jesus. But then once you discover Jesus as Lord, you can't stop there. We've got to take them further and further and deeper and more in love with Jesus, to the point where you get into his mystical body and all of that and the church. But I think then they're both good. Whatever works, right? So if you're on that level, if what the Protestants are doing is working, getting them to Christ, which is brilliant, we celebrate the fact that do that. But as long as they don't stay at that base level, they've got to continue on the journey. So I think we can work closely with Protestants in this space, introducing the divinity of Christ to our Muslim brothers and sisters. So let's work together in this space and evangelize Muslims, and that's one thing we can unite. But you're right, the strategic way. So with the sacraments, they're powerful. So through baptism, confirmation, reconciliation, Holy Communion, all that. That does require formation and RCIA, the whole process. So you want to make sure that they're fair income. Can I say that? Fair income about their faith, and real. So you want to journey with them on that. So maybe it's not as, don't just sort of rush and baptize but you could. I mean, look, you could, but don't leave them be. You got to sort of journey with them and keep them going. And I do regret there's certain people I need to go back and catch up with that I sort of left, unfortunately, high and dry because I distanced and I didn't follow up. And I feel bad that I haven't done that. And I think we all have a duty to do it. Go back and journey with the people that come across your life. And we are supposed to be disciples, and we're supposed to be accompanying them, and then bring them closer and closer and deeper in a relationship with Christ and his church. And if we can do that, we're going to go a long way. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
It does. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it, and kind of piggybacking off of one of the other questions that came in about like the Eastern Rite churches or the Byzantine Rite churches, whether it's Eastern Catholics or Eastern Orthodox, who the spiritual life would be culturally much more similar, where there's a more rigorous fasting rule, and there's prostrations, there's more of a prayer. I mean, is there a way even the Catholic Church could maybe encourage within its own communion to equip the Eastern churches to do a better job?
I love that. I think, there is definitely work to be done there in the East to bridge the gap. And that's a key. I think there's real hope there if we can have more and more Eastern churches doing that and understanding, and they do understand Islam, but outreach and doing that is important. The idea of formation. We have to form. So in the East, we have to realize the history here. How did Islam get these practices? So the 5 times a day, it's clearly from the monastery, the monastic life.
Facing
so we've
east
done that we face the sun, the East, and they face Mecca, which is basically the rock. Yeah. So are they praying to Allah or the rock? And they have to be honest about themselves there. Why do you have to physically face the rock if you say Allah's everywhere? And then that's the spot where Muhammad went up to heaven. But the idea is understanding a little bit about the history and then how we got to where we got to, and then we can evangelize that, because you can see all the influences of the Muslim biblical stories and how they came up with the stories. So Father Mitch Pack was brilliant. He picked there's a chapter dedicated to Maryam, Mary, but it mixes Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary, the sister of Moses. And if you don't pick up on it, you'll miss it. And so reading that surah on Maryam, you'll notice, hang on, wait, that's not what Mary, the mother of Jesus did. So they're mixing bits of history. So you've just got to go in there and clarify and fix up the order of things, and then we're good to go. But when it's very convenient to say all the Gospels are fabricated, they're false. And then we've got to start there. Okay, well, then if you're going to say that, then don't quote it. So if you just said that Muhammad's in the Bible, you just told me that the Bible's corrupt. So why are you quoting a corrupt book? And then ask questions like that to then get them to think. Why would you ask me, where in the Bible does Jesus say, I am the Son of God, worship me? Guess what? I'll save you time. He doesn't say it that way. And what's the problem? Because you've just told me, I remember Ahmed Deedat, he was a famous evangelist, and he said, I will challenge every Christian out there, if you can find in the Bible, your Bible, that Jesus says, I am the Son of God, worship me, I will give you $1,000. I remember that. And no one could do it. And even, I think, a few Protestant pastors showed him, and he says, no, it doesn't say that. What did he just do? He tricked us. He's forcing us and dictating how Jesus needs to say it. Hang on, it's not up to you how Jesus reveals himself. Jesus did it. He didn't just tell us, he showed us. I love it. He fulfilled the Old Testament perfectly. He was the fulfillment of the Old Testament. He lived a life of virtue. He performed the miracles, and then if we want to go there, I mean, he did say it in a more radical way. You know, when you say before Abraham was I am, Yahweh, the I am, the word, he's saying the forbidden word. He's just made himself equal to God. Like, there's so many things, and he proves it. He dies on the cross, resurrects, and then the 7 last sayings of the cross. Oh my goodness! There's so many things you can just point out here that Jesus is in charge. He didn't get murdered; he laid down his life, and that's the difference here. We don't follow a weak God. He's a strong, manly figure that came down to show us what love is all about, and he went through it, and it was painful, but he loved us that much that he did it. And if we can get into that a bit more, well, okay, he didn't say it the way you wanted him to say it, but nor is the Shahada prayer in the Quran the way you want us to say it. So where in the Quran does it say, there is only one God and his Prophet Muhammad, in that order? Now, it's in 2 parts.
Sure.
That's fine.
And then you were like, no. I said, where does he say this exactly? It's like, well,
that's
it doesn't.
So you've got to play it the same way. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you ever meet that Islamic leader who had you repeat that prayer 3 times? And
no, I wish. I really wanted, because he came from overseas, Jordan, in fact, and I'm going to Jordan in September. So I wonder if I can find out. I've got to get in touch with my friend Ali and see if, it's been 20 years though. I don't know if there's a way of finding him, but I'm going to Jordan with Tim Staples on a pilgrimage, so that's going to be fun. Him and his wife and his brother, Father Staples. So
wow.
That's going to be awesome. Holy Land and Jordan. So if I can get back to Jordan and see that sheikh, that would be amazing.
So what else you got going on with Parousia Media and everything else?
Yeah, there's that pilgrimage. So September 3rd to the 13th, plus a little add-on there.
Oh, next month?
Next month.
Are you going home before then? Or?
I'm going home, yeah. I go home on the 31st of July, and then I'll be home for a month, and then I'll go to Holy Land with Tim, Valerie, and Father Terry. And that's going to be awesome, following the footsteps of Christ. And we actually think about it like this. It's chronologically laid out. So we start in Bethlehem and we work our way through the Sea of Galilee, and then we end up in Jerusalem, and we go through the whole passion and resurrection scenes.
Have you been to the Holy Land before?
Never.
Me too.
Now, Steve Ray is the man that, he's the leader of the pack in this space. He's been 8 million times, I think. That's right. And then some. But I'd love to go with Steve Ray one day. But and this is Harvest Journeys is the company that are putting this together, and they've partnered with us, and we've got about half a busload of Aussies. Yep. Now we need to fill up the other half with Americans. So come on, guys, Americans.
Where can we go to check it out if they want to join?
Harvestjourneys.com. Harvestjourneys.com. It is also via the website and Parousia Media. Just look for it. But that'll be awesome.
How's Tim doing?
Much better, yeah. A lot of prayers. He's much better. He's not 100%. He describes himself as about 80, 85 since his stroke. He had a stroke 6 months ago, and it was really bad. He was struggling to walk, and he was struggling to do anything. It was really hard on him, but thank God he got through it, and he's back on Catholic Answers Live, and he's still doing his thing, but he's just taking it easy. He's not as...
he's such a faithful guy. I got nothing but good things to say about Tim.
Absolutely.
Love him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. What else? Yes?
I have a question. As you said, masculine, what do you think that the typical Muslim more strong in their faith than typical Christian is more strong in the faith? What do you think Christianity is lacking?
Okay.
Just reiterate that for those who didn't hear it.
So the question was, because I mentioned the word masculine, Muslims, what do I think between the Muslim approach to being masculine and the Christian approach? Which is more masculine, would you say?
I'm saying, as he said, masculine.
Yes. Yeah, I would. Good one. Yeah, you said that they're masculine.
Yeah, prima facie, it looks like a more masculine.
On the
faith.
outside, it is. Mm-hmm. On the outside, they pull together. They'll defend the truth. The 10% of truth that they have, they defend it, and they'll go to death for it. How many Christians are ready to do that? But I might have to say this: the true man of honor, is one that will stand up for the principles and defend the innocent, defend the vulnerable, defend truth. And where, I guess, when you scratch the surface, and I'm just generalizing, but my Muslim friends, where they fall short because they're missing out on the Christian message here, charity. So the idea is we support our own. Let's stand up for each other, but not necessarily stand up for the vulnerable or the non-Muslim or the one that need. So there's a difference there. So I think there's work to be done. So the Christian idea of the Christian message is charity is for everyone. We have to be charitable to the world. We have to be billboards of Christ. We have to be always outward looking for other people. That's what love is. Love is not inward looking, it's outward looking. And we don't live a selfish life. Imagine that, the society, if we lived a selfish life, it would be anarchy, and it's heading that way, unfortunately. But if people started speeding on the road because they didn't want to follow the rules, they don't care what anyone else thinks, they just want to do their thing, and it would be a chaotic world. So we have to reintroduce the idea of charity, which is lowering yourself, humbling yourself, and elevating others, and I think that's the Christian message.
It is exactly the Christian message. You think God humbled himself in order to elevate us in grace. I mean, that's exactly it. It's powerful. Hey?
And that's a man right there.
I remember I went to Abu Dhabi about 10 years ago to preach. It was such an honor to be invited.
Wow.
And on the airplane, I was sitting next to a fella, and he turned out to be a university professor. And this was back in the day when I thought because you had a PhD, it meant you knew a lot. And we started debating abortion. And, even though I felt pretty confident on the topic, this guy's got a PhD, golly, I better not get into a conversation with him. He's going to wipe the floor with me. But I entered into it somewhat reluctantly, and I was shocked at how terrible his argument was, and I was clearly just winning this debate that maybe we shouldn't be killing innocent people, and maybe that was never okay. And he was failing so poorly in our dialogue that he actually reached out to the lady hostess. What do you call her? The flight hostess?
Flight attendant.
Flight attendant. For backup. Let's bring a woman into this. Well, it turned out she was a good Muslim woman. And so then the two of us went to town on him. She went off on him that he would be for abortion. It was so cool. So me and this Muslim air hostess were refuting this professor. I don't know what he was a professor in. But it was interesting, as we were exiting the aeroplane, his exact words to me. I'm very precise when I try to recount what people say, because I hate when people embellish. I hate hyperbole, even though I know there's a role for it. But he actually looked at me and went, well, I think your arguments are better than mine, but I'm not going to change my opinion. What?
Isn't that profound?
As if you would say it. So truth isn't what matters the most, But,
wow.
But that was the time me and a Muslim woman argued.
That's awesome.
For
so
the
you're on the
evil
same
of abortion.
side. That's great. If we can do more of that, I think that'll be good. So don't be afraid to engage with Muslims. Befriend them. Bring them over your place.
Do we have a
discussion.
is there a lot of Muslims who are, help push the pro-life perspective or argue against abortion?
There's not, not that I know of huge outreaching apostolates, but I know individually when you speak to them, they are definitely against abortion. But yeah, I'd like to see more vocal Muslims step up to the plate in the pro-life movement. I think they're there. They're definitely there. They definitely agree with us on that. So that's a challenge. So anyone watching, please, we need you.
Awesome, dude. Well, anything else you want to touch on before we get going?
I guess shout out my wife, my 8 children.
That's
Christine.
She's at home right now with the 8 kids. How's she handling that? Bless her.
She's
what
amazing.
a saint.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far. I won't canonize her, but she is. I mean, but she's beautiful. She's very patient with me, and she's part of the mission and the ministry with me, as by supporting it, and she's behind it. And any big decision I make, it's always consulting her, and so she really influences the direction we go. So I love her, and we've had 16 years of marriage. 1st of July. This year, this month.
That's awesome. 16 years
16
for me.
Years. Oh,
this year.
My goodness.
Yeah. In August. So you got married a month before me.
My goodness, look at that.
Isn't that amazing?
Where were you married? What?
Texas.
Wow.
Houston.
I was married at the church we met, St. Charbel's.
Terrific.
So it was amazing. When I was engaged to her, so what happened, I was in the seminary. I don't know if people know that, but I was in the seminary.
I didn't know that.
Because I wanted to ask the question, God, are you calling me to something radical? Because people said, you should be a priest from all the prayers I was... So, okay, I better discover that. So 2003, I joined the seminary. I did meet my wife before that, but she was just a friend, sister in the Lord. And then I spent a year in the seminary, loved it.
Is this in Sydney?
Sydney. But it was under the Maronite Eparchy, but trained with the Sydney Archdiocese. So Cardinal Pell was the Archdiocese of Sydney then. Loved it. And we did a 30-day silent retreat at the end. I have to share this story.
Please.
I mean, it was a miracle.
30 days, wow.
So I knew about 6 months in, I knew from day one I wanted to be married, but I needed to explore if priesthood was for me, if that's what God's calling me. So about halfway through, I did have a little trip to Lebanon, met some married priests, and I thought, oh, is it attractive? But I couldn't do both. I had to be one or the other. Then I continued the second half, and I asked the question, if I was to marry someone, who would it be? And my wife popped in my head, Christine, and she never left me in my prayer. And I would be in adoration, and I would be like, okay, there's our Lord in adoration, but Christine's there, and I feel like I need her to be next to me adoring the Lord. And I felt just really strong about that vision, and it's amazing. Every time we do go to adoration, I always think of that prayer I had in the seminary. But in the final month, I asked my mother to join in the St. Teresa 5-day. It's not a novena because it's 5 days, not 9 days, but there's the 5 days. What happens if you want something answered, you go to St. Teresa of Lisieux, and it's basically, St. Teresa of Lisieux, please pluck a rose from heaven and show me, and it's a beautiful prayer. I don't know it all off by heart, but you say it 5 days in a row, and at the end, she will send a rose. Now, to make it even extra difficult, I said, all right, I see lots of red roses. I'm going to make it white. If I wanted to be married, and I said, okay, if I see a white rose, that's marriage. And if it's a red rose, that's priesthood. That was the conditions. And my mum did the same. And it was in the 30-day silent retreat. It was the last 5 days of the silent retreat. I love that silent. It was awesome. But at the end of it, I had a daily spiritual director. And in the end, he got frustrated with me. It was the last day. He said, Charbel, we've been journeying for 30 days and you're no clearer about your vocation than we were on day one. What do you want? Yeah. And I said, I want Christine. And he sat back in his seat and he goes, and he got up and just walked out. And I looked outside the window and there was a rose bush with a white rose. Yeah. I said, wow. I got home and I told my mum the good story. I saw a white rose today. And she goes, you wouldn't believe it, but I also saw a white rose in the garden. And I've never seen one ever in this garden. So we both got confirmation of the white rose. Now, I took that as a nice little, all right. And then I told the bishop and he said, look, I'm going to send you to Lebanon and study Syriac and Aramaic and the Maronite spirituality and then make a decision. I said, okay. So I did. And again, about 7 months in, I just, I made up my mind. He was going to send us off to Rome and I really wanted to stay, but I had to be true to myself. I want to be married. I'm not going to cheat anyone here. And then I went back. I thanked the bishop and I got home, and within a day or two of arriving, I just texted Christine and then said, can we meet at St. Michael's Church? And I remember it was a Thursday, 2:00. We said a prayer. It was the 1st of July, and we started to court then. And then a year later, we got engaged on the 1st of July. I proposed there was a park bench down the road from the church. I proposed there, and then a year later got married at the church we met. And a year later, we baptized our first son, Michael. And a year later, we baptized our second son. And then every year and a half for the next, 4 more children. 8 children now, thank God. Oldest is 15 and youngest is Alexander, who turns 1 on my birthday. So we share a birthday.
When's your birthday?
3rd of August.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about asking God for signs, because I moved to Texas back in 2005 and was discerning marriage with Cameron. And I prayed for 3 signs. I was in Mass one day and I prayed for, it's funny what you do. It's a bit embarrassing saying it out loud, but I prayed, I wanted to hear unambiguous scripture, I wanted to see a full moon, and I wanted to see a bloody deer in the middle of Houston. And I saw none of it. And that was it.
So you didn't get your sign?
Nothing. But I felt God was saying to me in prayer, Matt, you're old enough and ugly enough to make this decision on your own. What do you want to do? Want to marry her? Well, bloody do it, you idiot. So I did. It was the best decision. Well, one of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah, awesome.
That decision for a Timtam probably outranks that, but it's still a good decision. Do you know Mark Bennett from Brizzy?
Mark, yes.
Shane.
Shane.
I think he still leads Net.
Yeah, he's still involved
So
in
I used
that.
to live with Shane.
Oh, wow.
And Mark was a dear friend, and I called Mark up and I said, Mark, I want to... this is about a day after I was praying about my wife. I said, I want to marry her, but I'm just not sure, what if it's the wrong decision, and maybe I am called to be a priest. And he was just flabbergasted. He said, what the bloody hell are you talking about, you idiot? She's better than you are. She's better than you are. You better propose before she figures that out. That night I proposed to her.
Oh, wow.
So thanks, Mark Bennett, for
That's awesome.
shaming me into making a good decision.
Yeah, it's great. There's good movements now in Australia like that, and Net and from Net there's the Emmaus Emmanuel community.
Yeah.
There's the Unite conference happening all the time, and there's so many great initiatives. Fire Up Ministries, and I'm just so pleased to see more and more independent ministries starting.
Yeah.
And we need to step up and do the thing. We have to evangelize. We have to form people. We have to do whatever we're called to. And
but do you think,
better.
in America here, I don't know if it's because of like Hollywood culture, right, or like celebrity culture. I know there's some of that in Australia as well, but obviously not at the same level as America. Do you think, though, like American Catholicism can fall into that, where you've got your celebrities up on stage or behind microphones? And do you look at that and think, gosh, as helpful as that might be in the moment, that there might be something unhealthy there that I don't want Australia to necessarily follow in the same path?
Absolutely, yeah. I get what you're saying. It's not about us as individuals. Less of me, more of Christ. It's got to be. Everyone's called to different. It doesn't mean it's a cookie cut. Not everyone is called to do the Pints with Aquinas show. There's a calling. Not everyone is called to do Catholic Answers Live. Not everyone is called to do Augustine Institute sort of stuff. No, you're called to do what God's calling you to do with your skills. I love to share this. How do you know what you're called to? I think it's a big question, and I think there's some clues we can look at. And Jesus says it in the Gospels. It's your talents. Start there. Your talents. So first and foremost, what gifts have been given to you from God? If you're a creative type of person, artistic person, maybe it's through that form you should be serving the Lord. If you're a great preacher, then maybe that is your. Not everyone is called to do that, though. St. Paul reminds us of it as well. If you love working with your hands, maybe through a trade, like Jesus Christ himself, like St. Joseph, you could be in the construction business. If you like managing and organizing things, event management, or even in the corporate world or leadership, so whatever your skills are, I think that's a clear calling that God has planted it. Now invest it. Don't bury it. Invest in it and multiply it. So that's one. But the second one is. Where are you in your life? Are you married or single? That's a big, because that also will dictate a little bit about the direction to go. Are you, what situations that, you've got the mortgage or all the commitments you might have, and there might be certain things where you have to keep your current job to keep paying the bills, but then are there situations where are you ready to step out in the deep and then maybe give up that job and do something different? So where are you in your life? The third one would be like, what is it that you actually enjoy?
Yeah.
So if you don't enjoy it, then it's obviously clearly not from God. So there's got to be some satisfaction there and a desire. And then what, not ready to now trust in the Lord. And then can you bring that to the table? What's a need? Is there a need for what you want to do? If it's going to serve a need or fulfill a need, there's another sign. And then finally, you step out in faith and do it. And then if it gives you peace, fulfillment, it's from God. If you're sort of always uneasy, and I mean, God is a God of peace, and I think that peace, deep peace, is what we're looking for. Not just pure pleasure or pure enjoyment, or sad, what, like you say, just getting the attention. It's about is what I'm doing not only fulfilling to me, but is it effective? Is it having a difference? Is it bearing fruit? Am I enjoying it? Can I survive doing this? All these sort of factors, and because it's an important aspect we have to discern in life. And once we do that, I think game changer. If everyone followed their vocation, big V, and then followed the second vocation, little v, sort of what God's calling you to do in specifically, I think we're gonna have a huge impact in this world.
Well, thanks, Charbel. People should check out your book. Can they get it on Amazon? I know they shouldn't because Amazon sucks.
No, but they can. Yeah, it is on Amazon.
Okay.
It is on Amazon.
Yeah. How Islam Led Me Back to Christ. Check out Charbel's book. Check out ParousiaMedia.com. Once you go there, you can check out the pilgrimage that you and Tim Staples will be leading in September. Thanks for all the work that you're doing, man.
Yeah, thank you.
For my beautiful country and yours too.
And thank you, the great Southland of the Holy Spirit.
You know who that is? You notice that?
Yeah, Saint Leon.
Everyone knows who that is.
Of course,
do they?
Of course.
People who watch the show.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
She stood up, right? She stood up, and.
You think you can get me a relic of her?
Oh, there is. Yeah,
Is that too audacious a question?
I can find.
Because that's Thomas Aquinas in there, first class relic.
First class. Wow.
First class in there.
I cherish that. Definitely.
But yeah, that photograph. I'll tell you where I got that. So my first day at Catholic Answers, Jason Everett had just left for Denver because he was working in San Diego and then he was working remotely in Denver, and I got his office. Right, so I walk into the office and it's completely empty except for his filing cabinet filled with chastity material that he had photocopied. He's a machine. I love him. And then that was on the wall. He bought that for me and put it in the room.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's a special
Did you buy
guy.
it from Australia?
I don't know. He probably just bought it online.
Because he's been to Australia a few times. It's been great. It's very popular over there.
He's terrific.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah,
he's a real deal.
Yeah.
Man of faith. Awesome.
Cool. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Always.
Amen. All right.
God bless you.
Thank you.
We're praying for you and keep going. And fly the flag of Australia.
Should get that up here too.
You got the map. That was great. I saw you did that personally, right? You actually.
I just did that up to upset the Tasmanians. Notice?
Oh yeah, you've knocked them off. That's not good.
So they used to be there, but I lost it.
Ouch. That is the ends of the earth, right? It's in the Bible.
You know what I found crazy, right? Is if Australians made the map of the world,
it'd
be like this, right? Like that. Isn't that nuts? This crazy. Like the only reason, right? Because we obviously don't know what north and south is. What is north and south in relation to? It's in relation to the map makers, right?
Yes.
So if Australians had written the map and drew it up, it would be upside down, and the North Pole would be the South Pole, etc. Doesn't that blow your mind?
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, there's the radius, the border of the world. There's a what's it called? Pulse. There's a pulse. That compass. It's not necessarily called negative, positive, but there's a pulse.
But that doesn't show what's actually north. What do we mean by north? Like whenever you say something is north, that's in relation to something else, right?
Well, there's North and South Pole, but it would just probably be flipped.
That's what I just said.
You're assuming that they're on top.
Yeah, it'd be flipped.
I've not thought of it like that.
But the Europeans drew the maps.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you, man.
Yeah.
Don't we have satellite images? Don't we have satellite images? Won't that
Right
sort of
now.
predict that? Surely that will settle
Yeah,
that.
but like how are they focusing on the Earth? Like all you would have to do with that satellite is turn it around so it would be accurate, and Australia would look like that. Does it make sense? Am I talking crap?
If you think about if you started a map in Europe, everything below it would be lower, and everything like left and right would be the same, and that's why we think of that as up and on top of the globe.
Yes.
I have to process that, yeah.
So really, we're at the top,
But then
America's down the
satellite
bottom.
imagery? When you get to the point where you exit the atmosphere and you take a picture of the world.
Well, then your satellite is... You're taking a photograph of it the way you've interpreted it.
You would just send it up.
Yeah, wouldn't it be a...
What does that mean?
That's what I agree with.
You'd have to send it into space upside down to get that image.
They don't.
But what do you mean by upside down? Like upside down only in reference to the way we've understood how the world looks, right?
See what I mean?
So, look.
This is good. This is where Pints really starts. We haven't even begun yet. This is where it begins. Like if I say like, you know, that those lights are high, I'm saying that in reference to how we're sitting and the fact that I consider that to be the ceiling because I've decided it is. So that's the function it plays, right?
I feel like this is the same argument as saying if a colorblind person created the palette, green would be blue.
I'm putting on screen an upside down globe.
Oh yeah? What did you look up to find that?
I searched it and rotated it.
It's sort of like when people say that the Earth...
But you rotated it.
That's because they're operating within the reference of this.
So
is
then,
the way that looks
by
right
rotating it, doesn't that make Australia
up top
do that?
That way, but he had to rotate it. Like if you leave the room and then turn around and look at it, it's still the same orientation as it was.
Isn't it like this monk, and then there's down under, and then what you're saying is you flip it upside down, then it will be upside down.
There's no right way up. They put it that way because it looks right, because that's what the maps are made to look like and what we're conditioned to expect looking at the globe. But they have to, like, presumably the satellite's rotating to some amount, so they're going to have to position it some kind of way when they take a picture.
This is a grand conspiracy.
Let me say this to come at a different angle, right? So when people say, like, we now know we're no longer the center of the universe, like, you don't know that because you don't know where the edges are. If I'm in a room and I cannot see any of the walls, I cannot say whether I'm in the center of that room, right? Because I have no reference point. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So what I'm saying is, we don't. What's the reference point? Like, what's north and south? What is that in relation to? We don't know where we are. Like, maybe we're sideways. Maybe Australia should be on the side.
Okay, as far as the
so when you say something's north, you're only saying that in reference to where you are.
Well, then you should leave that as it is now on your bookshelf.
Done.
Yes.
Let's keep having this conversation because I feel like maybe I'm speaking crap or maybe I'm saying something really brilliant and I can't tell yet. So I'm going to have a bit more vodka while Neil tells me what's happening.
No, I think you're right. I'm thinking about just when... You have to think about how the map was developed. You'd have Europe, and then you have to make more space below it.
Yeah, thank you.
You got the coffee finished?
And
finished.
The only reason why this has any kind of second meaning to it is when you're looking at a globe, the northern ones are kind of on top, so resting on the bottom. So it's as if like
the northern what?
So like North America is on top of the world.
Yeah.
Whereas if you flip it upside down, then we're on the bottom of the world. You don't want to be on the bottom. So that's why it has these kind of like, you know.
You're only saying that because he pays you, Neil.
But it could also it's also because like Europe was unaware of Australia and South America when maps were being drawn, right?
No. Oh, the first maps.
Who drew the first maps?
I don't know.
Okay, so now you're just saying
some dude in Europe probably.
Europe and Asia.
Probably wasn't like an African Sheila. It's probably like a male European.
From looking at the coastlands, right? From the ship, looking at the coastlands by hand.
But then what defines the... Well, then you have to think... I agree with what you're saying, but then what defines the pulse around the world? Like, we have a compass that points to something.
But we've called that north. It's not like a compass came out of nowhere.
And
so the compass points north, but that's only because we've said what north is. We could have said that south.
Well, this is all predicated on a spherical Earth.
What did you say?
He said the Earth is flat.
Oh, that's another debate.
Might as well just derail it all the way.
Have you heard of that?
Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World.
Yeah, we should actually ask Jimmy.
Good on that.
Jimmy would know.
Yeah, he'll know.
Let me just text him. See if I can get him on speakerphone. But while I do that, I was going to ask you... oh, yeah. Have you seen that website, Birds Aren't Real?
I was just going to talk about
Look it up.
No.
It's the greatest website.
And they just changed all the batteries?
Can you look it up, Neil, and then like read about it while I text Jimmy?
Let me turn this toward you.
Birds are not real. I see birds all the time. What's the magpie? Cockatoo. Koala. I'm not koala. Kookaburra.
I've seen a lot of dead birds recently.
Me too.
What's the deal with that?
The Birds Aren't Real movement has been active since 1976. Once a preventative cause, our initial goal was to stop the genocide of real birds. Unfortunately, this was unsuccessful, and the government has since replaced every living bird with robotic replicas. Now our movement's prerogative is to make everyone aware of this fact. And then I think that they talk about birds recharge on phone lines. That's why you see them sitting on or not phone lines, power lines. That's why you see them sitting on power lines.
Is this legit or what happened?
All right, I'm going to call Jimmy Akin right now, everybody.
Okay.
Are people still watching the show?
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. We got more now than we did ever. All right, Jimmy. This is Jimmy.
Jimmy Akin.
Does he know you?
He knows of me. I met him twice.
Hello.
Hey, Jimmy. You are on Pints with Aquinas with Charbel, Raish.
How you doing?
Nice to make your acquaintance.
Yeah, good to see you. I was just at Catholic Answers yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it was great to see everyone.
So, Jimmy, my son, who is an avid listener of your excellent podcast, said you'll know the answer to this. So I've got a question for you.
Okay.
If Australians drew the maps... Okay, the question is, how do we know what's north and what's south? Because we have no reference point to what's actually north and what's actually south. So is north and south arbitrary names that we give to different directions? Or is north actually north for a reason that I don't yet know?
Well, so north and south are semi-arbitrary names for directions. We have the Earth as a sphere. It turns on a rotational axis, and we arbitrarily call one end of that rotational axis north and the other end of the rotational axis south. East and west also are arbitrary names, but at least in their case, they can be given a meaning with reference to the direction in which the Earth turns. Because the Earth turns in such a way that the sun rises in what we call the east and sets in what we call the west. So the names of all these directions are arbitrary, but they are tied to geophysical facts about the Earth. North and south, however, are more arbitrary than east and west, because you can always define east and west in terms of, is the sun coming up in this direction or is it setting in this direction? Whereas with north and south, you could flip. There's no real difference between north and south, geophysically speaking. And so you could, if you wanted, call the South Pole the North Pole and vice versa. And so that's the basic answer.
Okay, yeah, that's fascinating. So am I right in thinking that if you look at a map, the reason it looks that way is because Europeans view it that way, whereas if, Australians had written the map, we might be looking at Australia upside down on a map today?
Correct, yes. You could take a map of the Earth and turn it upside down, and it would reflect the perspective of what would have happened if, say, the Australian Aborigines had been the first to colonize the world, and they wrote all the maps from their perspective.
That's fascinating.
Incidentally, the same ambiguity about north and south applies not just to the Earth, but to the galaxy. The galaxy has a galactic north and a galactic south, which are oriented with the Earth's north and south. But if you flipped the perspective of Earth, you would flip galactic north and galactic south as well.
Yeah, gosh, that's fabulous. Thank you so much for giving us that brilliant answer off the cuff.
Yeah, no problem. Just happy I could be of service.
Yeah, what's the next Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World episode going to be about?
We just had an episode come out on Friday about the biblical mystery of the Urim and Thummim, or as they say in America, the Urim and Thummim, which were two objects that the Jewish high priest could use to get answers from God on different questions. And then this coming Friday, we're going to be doing an expose on a psychic medium named Robert Rickey, who claims, among other things, to have interviewed Ted Bundy and to have participated in 2 exorcisms authorized by the Archdiocese of Chicago. And so we're going to be using different investigative techniques to look at this gentleman's claims and show what a total liar he is.
Ooh. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. People go check out Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. Thanks a lot, Jimmy. You're the best.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Awesome.
I think you have better arguments.
I was right.
But I'm still not going to change my mind.
How does he spit out an answer like that? Isn't that incredible?
He's a freak. Amazing.
Trent Horn said that Trent Horn said that Jimmy Akin may be a cyborg sent from the future by God to save the church. And I think he might be right. Thank you. That is going to be like that forever now. Thank you. I think we're going to leave it like that. And I'll try to find Tasmania and hang it up there.
You know how many times you're going to have to explain that? Though?
No, I'm never going to explain it. Just like that photo I take photos of with my guests, so I never explain. Yeah, well, I guess I could do that. I won't, but it's possible. Isn't that great vodka?
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Isn't that the best vodka you've ever had? My mate gave it to me. His mate founded this company. Yeah, Polish vodka. So this is a hazelnut vodka, but it's nothing artificial. He uses real hazelnuts and maple syrup and vodka.
Very
Do you want a bit more?
I think we can fit a little bit more.
So you're away from your wife for quite a while.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not as long as other. Yeah, that's probably the longest I would ever be away.
Well, I mean, if you're going to come all the way to America, you got to stick around for a little bit.
I can't do it for a few days.
It's brutal. I just got back from Africa. I was on a flight from Namibia. So I went from Namibia to Johannesburg to London to Atlanta to Pittsburgh. It was about 35 hours with stopovers, you know. I walk out fried, not even realizing how fried I am.
That's worse than going from Australia.
Yeah. We got the cheapest flights possible, though. We were in London Airport for about 13 hours on the first leg, just hanging out.
So you've done a few trips already this year, right? Can you go to Poland?
Yeah. That was unexpected, though.
Wow.
That was decided like in a phone call. Father Jason, who I've had on the show, I don't know if you know of him.
Ukrainian.
So he called me up and he was telling me about all that was going on in Ukraine and the border, and they were being overrun. And I said, well, can I do anything to help? And he called me up. Remember, Liam, we were having sushi. It was Ash Wednesday. So, you know, I was sacrificing and fasting, having sushi. And he said, Matt, come to Poland. And I hung up and called my assistant, told her to book me a ticket.
Wow.
And then told my wife I was going to Poland. I have a very understanding wife.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. We got to appreciate our other our spouses, you know. I mean, they're in the ministry, right? Without your wife, you probably can't do this.
Well, I tend to think that it's my wife's suffering that is the fuel of whatever good this apostolate accomplishes. Yeah, she suffers a great deal. She has a lot of pain and a lot of health issues. Oh, wow. And she's a good woman. She's very patient, unlike her husband. But, yeah. So, hey, tell me who Saint Charbel is, because I have some Maronite friends who would just slap me across the face like your mother did to you if I said, who is Saint Charbel? Because
that's terrible.
But you're named after him?
Yes, I am. There's there's an interesting story in the book. My mother was 4 months pregnant, and she was bleeding heavily. And the thing is in chapter one of the book, and the doctor told her, "Look, I'm sorry, Mrs. Raish, you're going to lose this baby. You know, I don't recommend you continue with this pregnancy." Basically saying, you know, terminate the baby. And my mum said, she just said, "No way, I'm not going to do that." She turned to Saint Charbel and said, "Doctor of heaven," that's what you're the doctor in heaven. "Please pray for this child. If he survives, I'll name the child after you, boy or girl, and I'll dress the child in a black robe like you." So that night, the bleeding stopped. Now, she believes Saint Charbel pretty much answered that prayer, or prayed, and God answered the prayer. I've got to get that right. And I was born, and the doctor was he was amazed that I survived. And she went straight to the church after the hospital and dedicated me to Saint Charbel. And I got baptized, confirmed there, and later on married there, and then baptized a few children there. It's been amazing. Fantastic. It's been a big part. Met my wife there, so all that stuff. But who was he? He was a hermit from Lebanon. 1898 he died. Now he wasn't really he Joseph was his name growing up, and he always had this devotion. Like he would have a little shrine out in the field, and he'll go out and sneak off and pray near a cave. And so apparently when he was really little, it was a cheeky boy. He was naughty. But then as he grew up, he found his faith and would pray a lot. And then he wanted to join. It was a poor family, and he was supposed to continue the family business, but he had a desire to join the monastery, and he did. and he became a monk. I can't remember how many years, but maybe 16 years, if not more. He then asked to be a hermit, and then he then went out to a hermitage, lived by himself in solitude, and lived a very simple life. There's images of him with his eyes closed or looking down because he practiced custody of the eyes. And he made a vow never to see his mother again until heaven. And there was a story, she wanted to see him in the monastery and he wouldn't see her. But he spoke to her through the grill and she said, "Won't you see your own mother? I'll see you in heaven. Please pray for me and I'll pray for you. Let's get to heaven. I'll see you in heaven." So this real desire to get to heaven. And it was similar, I guess, the LMO, the Lebanese Maronite Order, similar to the Benedictine idea of work and pray. And so he was working the fields and he'll get tempted all the time and he would fight off those temptations. But there was another little funny story where these young boys wanted to trick him because at night you would have these wax lamps and you would light them up so you can continue to pray. And he asked them to get the wax lamp and they filled it up with water. They gave it to him to play a trick on him, and he just lit it, and it lit up, and they were like, "Oh, that's a miracle." The superior came in and sort of, they said, "Who is this man?" So in his life, though, relatively unknown. When he died, only 3 people at his funeral. But because a patriarch passed away as well, and his funeral's on the same day. But relatively unknown. But after his death, here's the funny thing. He's known around the world now, in Russia, in Mexico, across South America, Australia. My goodness. The amount of miracles attributed to his intercession is in the, I would say, tens, if not hundreds of thousands. The amount, because if you can go to his site in Lebanon, you can see all these letters from all over the world, and there's heaps of them, people writing, and thanks to his intercession. And when the miracle when he died was that it smelt like roses. And he had this oil that came out of his body, and people would bottle it up, and it was like had a healing element to it. But then when he was incorrupt for 50 years, so he's one of the incorruptibles, and they exposed his body, and then when he was beatified, it started to ooze oil. So then they put him back into what do you call it, a boat? It was not a typical coffin, but I don't know even what you call it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like a coffin, and it's in Anea now, and you can go there, and he got canonized in 1977, and he's been a real role model of prayer, fasting, fighting off temptations. Turned to him to heal people, and he's healed many people, and including me. I'm here because of his intercession.
Charbel.
Yeah. Yes.
Sweet, man.
It's been fun.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Oh
I'm
my gosh,
praying for you guys.
It's a pleasure. How long are you in Steubenville for?
Just tonight, and then tomorrow I'll catch up with Scott Hahn. He's at the clergy conference there, and John Bergsma.
Oh, in
Ogle Bay. There's a golf club.
Oh, nearby.
A 40-minute drive.
Okay.
So I'm getting a car and then going down.
Nice.
And then I'll continue off to Philadelphia. I'm going to catch up with Ascension Press, the team there.
Oh, good.
Basically, the ministry, what we do is we're trying to license a lot of these publications in Australia because shipping is astronomical.
Yeah.
You pay more for shipping than the product itself. So if we could be the boots on the ground for many of these ministries, then that will go a long way. And that's what's happening. And thank God, we're organically just expanding slowly. And it's reaching more people in the region. So Australia, New Zealand, and then the Asia Pacific as well. So very excited. We publish books, we distribute, and
you publish this one. This is your
yes. That's right.
This looks great, by the way. Your book
thank
looks
you.
good.
Thank you very much.
I love the opening bit, and then I'll wrap up here. But I love how you started your book. I just read it while you were talking. I thank God every day for my Muslim friends, because if it were not for them, I would probably have remained a lukewarm Catholic, living a self-centered, empty life, focused on myself and indifferent to others. What a cool way to start a book. Yeah. Sweet, dude. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. Let's eat some cherry ripe, some violet crumbles. Thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe, ring the bell. We're going to have Father Gregory Pine on the show tomorrow. What time is that?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to check right now. I need to go to bed because I've got Father Pine coming in the morning. Are you picking him up, or how's he?
No, he's renting a car.
He's what?
He's renting a car.
Father Gregory Pine. Dun, dun, dun,
Where's
dun,
he from?
dun. 2 o'clock tomorrow.
2 o'clock.
Father Pine, where's he from? I don't know. PA? I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, okay. He's a
No.
Dominican priest.
Beautiful.
Eastern province.
Okay.
He's currently studying in Switzerland, getting his doctorate. He's about, I don't know, he's young. 29, 30,
Wow.
35. I don't know
That's
what he is.
awesome.
He's younger than me, but he's one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Like, he's a really smart dude and really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Is
don't
he
usually
online
go
a lot
together.
on the YouTube?
He's on my show a lot.
Okay. Okay.
He also
I
is
think
with.
I do know him. Yeah. Online.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names, so sorry, Father.
Yeah, anyway, so if you're watching right now, click subscribe, ring the bell. We're going to have Father Pine on tomorrow. It'll be a live show. Hope to see you there. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Seraphim. Thanks, Lilium. Thanks, Charbel Bell.
Awesome. My pleasure.